I now call the Forest Lake Area Schools regular school board meeting for Thursday, September 4th, 2025 to order. Please join us while we recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Member Clerk, will you please take the roll call of attendance?
Yes. Okay. Member Tyson.
Here.
Member Haglund.
Here.
Member Corcoran.
Here.
Member Rebeline.
Here.
Member Castle.
Here.
Member Antonsen is here, and Member Christensen.
Here.
Everyone's here.
All right. We have all members present. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, point of inquiry.
Yes, Member Haglund.
At the last meeting, during the green card session, we had a member that was upset that Forest Lake PD was here in the audience and felt that it was expenditure of public funds and hard to see that the police department is coming to our school board meetings. And if that member of the community had paid attention to the agenda, they would have recognized that we were going in a closed session as we annually do for the school board or the school officer SRO to give us the school board an update. And so with that said, you know, for those who are in attendance now or maybe have never been to a school board meeting, would you mind just refreshing everybody's memory or informing people why we're here? Like what the school board's
The purpose of the school board?
is? Yes, thank you.
Sure. Give me one moment. It's actually defined in statute. Let me look that up quickly for you. All right, in summarization here, the Minnesota school boards are responsible for the governance, care, management, and control of their local public school districts under state law. Their purpose is to superintend and manage the schools by adopting rules and policies, setting curriculum, establishing budgets, maintaining oversight of financial transactions, negotiating labor contracts, hiring the superintendent, and ensuring the proper implementation of district operations. And that is a summarization of Minnesota State Statute 123B.09.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right.
Point of inquiry. Could Member Haglund show the correlation between the SRO being here for the closed session and for the reading of the statute? Can you clarify?
Yeah, I think I made that pretty clear, is like to remind the public why we're here.
Okay, how does that go with the SRO being here for the closed session? I'm just not understanding how they go together.
Because clearly the public or the person, the individual who spoke, didn't review the agenda and understand that the SRO was here for a stated purpose and not trying to gaslight the public that, oh, the police are being called to the school board meetings now. So that's why I asked the chair to read what our responsibilities are. So thank you for asking.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
All right. With that said, I would love to entertain a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
Move to approve.
Second?
All right, a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, the meeting agenda is adopted. That brings us to scheduled and unscheduled visitors. This evening, we had members Antonsen and member Tyson in the listening session. I'll go to each member individually. Member Tyson.
Sure. So, Member Antonsen can add on. We had 17 people. We had 2 that were there to speak, and the rest were listening, although some people added some great value to the meeting, great discussion. We talked about how one community member was approached at the state fair, and this person wanted to know what was going on in our school board and why there was so much. She said it was a sad story. They were wondering why there was so much going on, with it seemed to be so much arguing and just people not listening, and he just had heard that things weren't going well. And she talked to him about this and found out this gentleman was from Wyoming, so he does live in our district, and that's how we heard about it. We had another community member that talked about the vendor board bills and wanted more of an explanation because it was said in a meeting. She wanted to know what's a chain, what do you consider a chain, franchise. She said these words were said, and she would appreciate people doing research research to know what the business actually is, and to actually come into the businesses to see them for themselves and visit. And then we also talked about, it was brought up that businesses should be respected, they employ our youth, and that we should try to do more meetings one-on-one and not clump everyone together, that if we want to have information, we should get it from that person directly. One person brought up that we could communicate our philosophy to different committees. And then also was brought up that it's upsetting to community members, or to this community member, a couple of them, to ask questions and not get answers. So another person in the meeting talked about how we should be held accountable and be more kind, and would hope that school board members respond when they need to. And just talked about returning emails consistently and responding to things that we need to clarify that they hear in meetings. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, Member Tyson.
Has more.
Member Atkinson?
Sure. That was very thorough. Thank you. With that speaker who was concerned about somebody approaching them at the state fair, that speaker, or the member, was asking how can we get the narrative to change about our district having so much maybe unhealthy public discourse, and how can we get the message to be more positive. I think that's a good question. There's certainly ongoing online spaces that push what I think are false narratives as to the things that the board has been talking about over the last 6 months. And again, I will, one of the other things that was said was that listening goes both ways, and perhaps some people, not a full representation of our community is in the chamber here during all meetings, and that listening goes both ways. And then accountability did seem to be a very good topic, or agreed upon a topic from all members. I don't know, I'm getting so much feedback, guys, sorry. I don't know why. Is it on? Okay. And I agree. I think accountability is important for all of us. And I think that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Member Atkinson. And Member Tyson, did anybody have any questions on that one? I don't have any questions either. I do have something minor to add, though. It's interesting that there was a discussion about the messaging out in the public right now, and I agree with that member of the public. I don't know who it was that said that or what they said, but I agree. I've actually been very disappointed these last couple of weeks. We had an excellent back-to-school report, a lot of really good news, enrollment being up, academic success being up. We have so many positive things that are happening in the district, and every one of us, the 7 of us here, and Dr. Massey included, so all 8 of us at the stable here, tried to emphasize that. But the message I saw out in the public, whether it's on social media, on some of these websites, it's all spun in a very negative light. So it's very disappointing for our students and our staff that are doing so many great things that isn't highlighted, and it seemed to have come out in the listening session again as well. So that's the only reason I add to that. But with that, we'll move on to our green card process here. We do have 1 green card this evening, and I'll read a little preface here. Although the board's not legally required to offer public comment, we believe it's an important part of a community interaction and have included it on tonight's agenda. We ask that speakers keep their comments relevant to the agenda item that they would like to speak on, be respectful, avoid personal comments about board members, and refrain from sharing private or sensitive information. Please remember this process is not interactive. We request that everyone present be respectful of commenters and refrain from making their own comments or applauding to help keep things moving. Speakers will have 3 minutes. The clerk will give notification to speakers as their time is expiring, and the chair will strike the gavel once their time has expired. I've shuffled the single card and we'll call speakers. Karen M. Thank you, Karen.
Good evening, Superintendent and board members. I'm speaking on policies, but since it is brought up on the table here, I can also tell Mr. Haglund that since I was here after the meeting, it would have been nice to know, to remind her that there was something to do with this policemen that were here that night, that they had a reason. But I go back to the other meeting before, and did they have a reason to be here at that June 26th meeting, I think it was? Or were they just called in?
This process is non-interactive.
Well,
I
yeah,
will state, though, I think it's very clear that, especially this week, we do take school safety extremely seriously, so that there is law enforcement in our buildings.
and that's fine.
At
I just
times,
wanted to clear
whenever
up the statement
appropriate, so-
because it was said about a very personal person, myself. And I just wanted to apologize that I did not see it that night on the agenda, but I do not believe it's on an agenda before. And so my comment was, it's a sad state of affairs if we have to start bringing in police at a school board meeting, and I stand by that. If they're here for a reason, that's different. Okay, I put policy on my greet card, and it's an okay one, I think. I just would like to know how policies get started here, and I understand from HR that can be done, that a policy can be brought up here, even though it's not brought up at the policy committee. But I think the policy committee is a very important group of people to kind of vet things before they get here. And I would like to see that process maybe be put into place more than it is. And if then it is brought back to the policy committee and the board doesn't agree with it, I know they also have the right to not agree with it, but it's just a sensitive thing to me that we have good people on the policy committee, and I would like to see more policies start there rather than here. And one to be looked at in particular is the speaking twice. I've tried with different school boards, and I haven't found anybody has that Robert's Rule of Order understood that way. The speaking twice is for large groups, and probably for a very good reason, but it doesn't hold water for small groups. And so as a citizen, if I vote for Mr. Rabeline and he's only allowed to speak twice, it's like telling me it's my voice because I voted for him, and I would like him to speak more times because it might change your mind with the conversation. And by having that limited and you having to keep track, Gail, you've had to, it's not conversation anymore, normal conversation. It's more rule keeping or record keeping. And so I would just like the board to look at that policy again and either give more reason for it. It certainly can't be to save time because while we had it in place, the meeting went 3 hours. So I would like to know other reasons why that policy was put in, and to know that the person I voted for would have the right as an elected official to represent the people that have voted for them numerous times, unless they, sabotage and want to vote for, I want to speak up the whole meeting, that would be different. But I've not seen that happening yet. I think all of you have good ideas and should be allowed to share them as many times as you want. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to student achievement, and this evening we have Scandia Principal Carafel.
All right, good evening. I am Shannon Carafel, and I'm the very proud principal of Scandia Elementary, and I have with me.
I am Jenny Holmgren. I am one of the kindergarten teachers at Scandia Elementary.
So, board chair, school board members, Dr. Massey, we are really excited. I know that every time I come here, I'm very excited. That is because I firsthand know as a parent, as a product of, and now as an administrator in Forest Lake Area Schools, I know the amazing and positive work that we do in this district. So I'm really excited to share with you our kindergarten process. So just knowing that day one and beyond, we're building belonging and strong learners from the start. So we do a fairly extensive onboarding process for all of our kindergartners, and we're really working at how we prepare and empower every student to thrive and contribute in an ever-changing world, and it begins with our youngest learners and making sure that they know Scandia and Forest Lake Area Schools is the place to be. we really work hard at Scandia and at all of our elementaries at building family connections, creating those connections. When we're talking about enrolling students with the kindergarten process, welcoming these new families into our buildings, it really starts in December. We send out our first save the date for our kindergarten, Explore Kindergarten, and then meet and greet. It starts in December. It goes out to all of our families in the district. In January, they get another communication. That is the formal invitation to Explore Kindergarten, and then we really walk through that enrollment process. Where do they go? What are the links? What does that look like for their family? We also do tours, and we work really hard at creating dynamic and engaging tours for every family or potential family when they connect with us, when they walk through our doors, when they come to Scandia Elementary and all of our elementaries. We really work at Scandia at highlighting a number of areas: International Baccalaureate, positive behavior interventions and supports, academics and the alignment to the state standards and our rigorous curriculum and how that aligns and how it all connects. Student supports, both at our building level and at our district. So we walk through everything from academic supports for our students, behavioral supports for our students, and then our district-wide supports, whether that is at the middle school, high school, community supports, family supports. Our district works hard to make sure that every family gets exactly what they need so that their student can be successful, and it's something that we should be very proud of. We also talk about community engagement and support, which I'll talk about a little bit later and what that means for Scandia. But frequently, our schools have community members, businesses, local governments into our buildings, and they invite us back into their spaces to just enrich our educational experience for all of our students. And then, of course, we spend some time explaining the full scope of Forest Lake Area Schools K through 12. We spend some time talking about what does it mean to go to middle school in 6th grade? What are the opportunities there? What is our high school like? What does that mean? What opportunities, sports, what things are available to our students, and why it's so great that they should stick from K through 12 with us.
Awesome. And I'm going to jump in and talk a little bit about Explore Kindergarten. This is a passion of mine because as young learners, you want to get them excited for school. And oftentimes, I think I've said in this space before, like they're excited, but they don't quite know what they're excited for. But you also want to ignite that excitement for parents because they know they're dropping off their precious little one to us, and they want to know that they're safe, they're loved, and that they're going to learn. And so Explore Kindergarten is a great passion of mine, and it brings us into the next slide. And so it's an evening that families are invited in, and those invitations came out earlier so they can really mark the calendar. And we go through a rotation, so we get to see a day in the life of a kindergartner in the evening. And they come to my room typically for the IB experience. And in that space, we get to talk about what it is to be a learner, what it is to be an inquirer. We talk about with that International Baccalaureate piece that each day we're inquiring, we're asking questions, and when they come in, I have tanks of water on the table, and they have to pass these tanks of water and come up, and we read a story, and we discuss the story and problem solve, and then they actually get to go into a hands-on lesson. And parents get to just kind of observe, but they also get to dive in and be a learner alongside their student. So it's really exciting for them to see their excitement from their child, to say like, oh, I want to come. They get to meet Principal Careyfell and ask questions, which they have a plethora of. And they get to ride the bus. The bus is there and it takes them through the neighborhood, and oftentimes that's one of their highlights because some students, parents drop off, and so riding the bus isn't an everyday experience for them. If we do a field trip, it may be, but that's a highlight that they get to do. And then we have a building scavenger hunt where they can familiarize themselves with the building.
This is one of the areas that we leverage our student ambassadors, which are our student leaders in now 5th grade. So they apply for and then interview for and earn a position as a student ambassador, and then they help support events like this. So without the student ambassadors, I don't know that we could run our events as well as we do. They're a huge help, and they really are leaders in our building.
And then the other part for Explore Kindergarten in that evening in my partner's classroom is she goes through a storybook that she has created with photos of actual learners in our classroom. And it's a way for parents or your grown-ups to see what does a day look like, what does that entail, but it also is at a kid-friendly level where they're looking at a storybook. And so they can visually see, oh, I'm gonna have breakfast at school. I'm gonna read stories at school. I'm gonna grow as a learner. I'm gonna have teacher read to me. I'm gonna grow as a writer. And they get to go through what a full day looks like. We get to play with my teacher. I have recess. I'm gonna eat lunch with my class. I'm gonna grow as a mathematician. I'm gonna make, choices for my learning, because we do a lot of choice, inquiry, learn how to be a good person. We talk about our SEL, our social emotional learning. And then we explore the IB themes. She follows up with some pictures, but then they get a deeper dive with me. And then they get to talk about how they get to go to specials, because that's new for kindergartners. They know you as the homeroom teacher, but then, I have other teachers too. And so seeing that in a storybook is really helpful for them. And then I spoke a little bit to this, where I got a little excited about the buckets. But here are the buckets at the table, and they have a sheet, and that's where it's great to have the parents with, because they get to help navigate that sheet with the student, where they make a prediction of what's going to happen. They get to test it right there. And then, of course, the piece that I love is on the back. It's empty, and you get to encourage them to go home. So not only are we striving that we want to have learners right here in our building, but we are lifelong learners, and that learning happens outside of the building. And that's what we really, I feel like, want to continue to tell to students, is that you are a lifelong learner, not just in these walls. So,
When they come to meet the principal, I go through all of our systems. I talk PBIS, I talk classroom size, or different seating opportunities that we have for students. We have wiggle seats, we have kick bands, things like that. Whatever a student needs, they get in our building. I talk through specialists, I talk through our highly trained educators, and a little bit about the science of reading, whole child focus, the different supports we have, technology available to our students, and of course that is given at an age appropriate level. We would never hand a kindergartner an iPad or a laptop and leave them to it. That is not appropriate at their age, so we're careful to explain that as well. We talk about our standards alignment, the work that our teaching and learning department has done. I spent some time talking about our really unique opportunities, our buddy classrooms, where we pair an upper grade with a lower grade, which allows our older students to become leaders, and our younger students to get to hang out with one of the really cool big kids and get to learn from them and have different experiences. Again, student ambassadors, and then all of the green space that we have available at Scandia, whether it's our outdoor classroom or the local places that are available to us, Gamble Garden, Lily Scogan Park, then the partnerships in the community, again, Gamble Garden, Lily Scogan Park, the Scandia Marine Lions, the local fire department, local businesses, and then our city center government, who all, again, invite us to their spaces and then come into ours just to enhance learning and familiarize students with other things in our community. Again, lifelong learning happens outside of the classroom as well. And then again, they take a ride on the bus. I don't think anybody actually cares about anything I have to say. They all just want to ride the bus. And one of our Scandia bus drivers, Sue, volunteers every year and does a ride with everybody. So this is the highlight of the evening for most of our students. So.
and they get to do it with their family. Like, you don't ride the bus normally to school with your whole family, so that's also a fun side of it.
In July or August, depending on if you have a teacher who's expecting or not, you might adjust the dates a little bit. This year we did. So this year, ours is a little bit earlier, but we host kindergarten meet and greet.
And then I'll speak a little bit to that. So with the meet and greet, it's a way for students to come in and we have a one-on-one time slot with them. Where typically in our building we switch where I look at a little bit of our mathematics and then my partner looks a little bit at literacy. But when you are first coming in to meet your teacher, you don't want to sit down and then all of a sudden you're being assessed. And so it's a way that you can do it in a kid-friendly way. So when they come in for math with me, I want to know, do you know some of your numbers? Can you put them in order? Well, we're going to dig in this bucket and we're going to find as many numbers as you can. Keep digging. What can you find? Now let's play it. And so if you make it in a kid-friendly way, but I can also at the same time start collecting data because data drives instruction. And so this is a great way where you're getting kids comfortable, they're excited to come in and learn, but I'm collecting data. And then the Reading House is a book that we've been utilizing, I think now the last 3 years.
Columbus and Scandia were the pilot schools, and now we use it district-wide.
Yeah, so we were one of the pilot schools that started where it was with our literacy coach we looked at, and it's a way where you're looking at a story, and so you're reading a book together, but as you're reading and discussing, you're collecting data. Can you find what letters do you know in this garden? You're collecting data. Oh, you point to a word. Oh, you might not know a word yet. And you're collecting data along the way. And so again, it's a comfortable way for students to get to know the teacher, and we're collecting data. And then the piece too that's really exciting is families, while they're waiting for their kiddo to do their meet and greet, they're watching a video about the reading house. So when this book goes home with them, families can continue to utilize it at home, they can continue to have conversations, and it gives families a tool to start those conversations. Maybe they didn't know how to have those conversations yet.
And one piece to note on our process for meet and greet is that some of this is relatively new. And it is absolutely through the collaboration with teaching and learning, our coaches, and our kindergarten cohort that these changes have happened, so that it's play-based, it's multi-sensory, it is kid-friendly, it is warm and welcoming to families and to students to start to create those bonds and to create that excitement for school, and to let them know that this is the place to be. This is the elementary that we want to go to. We want to be a part of the school district who does this for our children.
And I love that you mentioned that, because there has been a shift, and that shift has taken a lot of collaboration and a lot of courageous conversations to say, we want it multisensory, we want it play-based, these are what students need.
So again, meet and greet it's about data, it's about creating classrooms that work and that are dynamic, but it's really an event. This is an event at Scandia. So we have a kindergarten signing day. If you're familiar with the high school, some of our students end their high school career with a signing day. It's very special. We start kindergarten with a signing day. We have a backdrop. We invite Ronnie the Ranger. And then everybody receives a little certificate that they sign that says, I am ready for kindergarten. The certificate is signed by Dr. Massey and myself, and then it goes home with these families. We have photo opportunities for families, of course, with Ronnie the Ranger. We have a desk, a vintage desk in front of the school. They take a Scandia Star photo, but then also we have a Dala horse that is probably 20, 30 years old. They're placed around our community, but we do have one at the school. And most families take a kindergarten picture by the Dala horse, and then when students come back and they walk through the halls right before graduation, they walk through the halls of their elementary, they take a picture with the Dala horse as well. And we frequently see families in the early fall, late summer that will come, and so I think many families take a picture every year with their student with the Dala horse. So
It's a big tradition.
some pictures of signing day.
And they use the big pencil, they get so excited.
Just making some local celebrities here. Then another piece that we do that is very specific to Scandia, and again, that welcoming piece, that creating relationships with community members, with parents, spreading the word about how fantastic this district is our ice cream social. This is promoted in the materials that go home with our families that day, but our PTO brings ice cream and other treats for every single kid and adult who attends this. And usually it's about 100%. All of our families show up. It's just on the playground one day, kind of after working hours. It gives the parents an opportunity to meet each other, to create those relationships, and the students to meet each other before the first day of school, so not everybody is new. They already have a friend. So, and of course, it's a chance for our PTO to meet people. I'm there, and our admin assistant is there as well, Ashley Maloney, and they can ask any question that they have as they get ready for school. Another piece that we do is Scandia attends the weekly farmers market at the city center in Scandia, and we have a hands-on activity that we bring each week. So it's usually something from our science curriculum or maybe from art, but it's really about creating those relationships. We do draw enrollment from this. Even if an individual that we're talking with, if it's their grandchildren that they're doing an activity with, or maybe they don't have school-aged children right now, they know somebody who does. So we want them to understand how amazing we are, how great this district is, how nice we are, and that they created a relationship with us. So when they see people who have school-aged children, they say, I've got a school for you. I met these ladies at the farmer's market. They did an eclipse activity. It was amazing. So we want them to spread the word. So we are down there. We're talking with families. We're engaging. We attend National Night Out. We do all of these pieces just to create connections with families. Part of our community involvement The city and our Parks and Rec are very involved in our school, as are the Lions, as are our local businesses. But Lily Scogan Park has a children's story path. Every single student in our building submits a story or a piece of artwork throughout the school year, and it is featured in one of the stands like this. This year, I collaborated with Parks and Rec, and we decided to put the Scandia Star photos of every single one of our newest kindergartners. So they will be a celebrity for a few weeks in the Lily Scogan block. It also familiarizes our brand new families with the opportunities in the community. It gets them to go to our parks to see these great spaces and see the work that our students do. So it starts them in kindergarten, and hopefully it'll follow all the way through when their student is a 5th grader. Once our students are in the school, it's important to note that learning starts on day 1, and creating strong expectations starts on day 1. We spend a lot of time creating strong behavioral expectations through our PBIS work. We spend time specifically and intentionally teaching expected behaviors. We create buy-in in every single classroom by collaboratively creating the essential agreements. All of the students have input on what their classroom should look like to be safe, respectful, and responsible. The expected behaviors are taught in the specific environment. We do a school-wide passport activity that I'll show you next. And then we intentionally pull data every month, looking at behavioral data that might tell us certain areas need to be retaught. Is it lunchroom? Is it the hallway expectations? What do we need to revisit and make sure that our students understand so that they can be safe, respectful, and responsible, and everybody in the school can learn. And then we leverage our buddy classrooms when we're teaching some of these expectations, and I'll show you that in a minute. This is our passport activity. So every student gets one of these. They go to every single learning environment in our building. Also arrival and dismissal spaces. They learn as a class what it looks like to be safe, respectful, and responsible in every single environment. They are explicitly taught. They have collaborative conversation with their teachers and their classmates. They give examples. They might model what not appropriate behavior and what appropriate behavior in that space looks like.
And with kindergarten, we're excited because once you get your passport and you've shown that you are safe, respectful, responsible, that's what the passport is, you get your Scandia Star stamp in there. And as a kindergartner, they're like, I want to earn that star. And so like they are really engaged in those conversations. And so tomorrow we're taking our big poster out by the playground and we're drawing out our rules, and they're excited to get that stamp tomorrow. So we're working on it.
So when we're creating our spaces for learning, we do the passport in the fall. Then we know that behaviors sometimes spike. Sometimes students forget a little bit what school should look like when they come back from some of our larger breaks. In winter, every year, we reteach the expectations school-wide, and we leverage our buddies. So 4th grade, for example, is partnered with 1st grade, and they go throughout the school, and there's a different sheet, but they explain, they talk through, they model the expectations in every single environment again. Again, allowing our older students to become leaders and allowing our younger students to hang out with a really cool upperclassmen. So a couple pictures of this. And full disclosure, I'm pretty sure it was a winter wonder week, hence there are some pajamas, some crazy hats and other things, but learning happens even if you're having a winter wonder week. So all of this is to say that what we do really does matter. Creating those relationships, intentionally teaching things, and welcoming our youngest learners is what makes this district amazing. We really are preparing, empowering every student to thrive in our ever-changing world, and it starts with strong family connections, welcoming our youngest learners, and creating a safe and effective learning environment for them. These are our kindergarten teachers, and Ronnie the Ranger. Ronnie might have been in Miss Helmgren's class in kindergarten.
I may have had Ronnie.
Ronnie's gotten a little tall. Thank you for your time tonight. What questions might you have?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'll kick us off with a question from Ms. Helgren.
Yeah.
You talked a lot about collecting data,
Yeah.
and I know that just in experience, it becomes a habit. Every time you're somewhere, you're collecting data, you're analyzing, you're looking at, you're filing things away. So I fear somewhat what data you might be collecting right now.
That's
But
okay. There's lots of types of data too. So that's also, you know, the annotative, but the observational, so there's a lot of pieces to it.
Absolutely. But I was hoping you could expand upon that a little bit, because kindergarten, you don't have the prerequisites that you have in, say, calculus or trigonometry or algebra 2. You have a bit more of a challenge because you have students at all levels, and you have one of the hardest expectations in the entire district of bringing students that are on so many different levels and preparing them all for first grade and getting them all up to speed.
I
So if
love
it's
it.
not putting you too much on the spot,
Yeah.
first I want to share some appreciation from the board on the incredible job that you and the other kindergarten teachers are responsible for. But could you speak to that a little bit, how you utilize that data that you're collecting early on in your initial interactions, and how you help bring all of those students forward so they're ready for first grade?
That is a phenomenal question. So, like we said, looking at data, they are all coming in at a variety of levels. Some are coming in where they've had many years of preschool, so that social emotional piece might be a little stronger. So that's data. And so that can they say goodbye to their family when they come back to meet and greet? Are they able to sit down in the chair and hear my directions? That's a note I can make. So I know, okay, when we sit down at the rug, am I knowing, okay, you're ready and engaged? You may have some of those skills. If we haven't been in a setting where it's preschool and maybe you've had a different setting at home, leaving your family might be really hard. And so that's data. I can write that down, and that I know the first week of school is going to be a lot of hugs, a lot of hands. You're going to need my holding my hand. You're going to need a picture of your family. When it's rug time, it might be really hard for you to sit and engage right away. So what tools or what SEL lessons can I put in day one? And so there, in that social emotional, there's data right there where I can start thinking what my first day, what my first week, what my first month is going to look at. And then thinking about what tools will help everyone, but no, it's going to really help these kiddos, such as like our STAR breathing. There are some kiddos that, yep, I already know how to breathe through a situation, but reminding them, yep, you have this tool. Because even though you maybe know how to breathe through when brother knocks down your tower, you're in a new setting, a new space, new expectations. I might need a reminder how to utilize that skill I have. And so even though we may teach where it seems like we're showing everyone, each person's kind of taking it at their level they're at. So that's kind of SEL data. Then you think about like our literacy or the math, since I do the math portion of it, looking at that. It reminds me of what lessons I'm going to pull out. So if I'm thinking, you know that you can do 1 through 10 in order, then maybe you're not going to be in my small group that first month of school with putting 1 through 10 in order. You're going to be in a different small group where I made a list of these 4 friends at meet and greet. They kind of struggled with putting 1 through 10 in order. They're going to be that small group. So already I can start thinking about my small groups or my possible interventions, and then making my group strategically so I can keep moving kiddos. So that my 1 through 10, putting them in order, maybe they have a different where I'm leaving some numbers out, and now you're moving on still 1 through 10 in order, but it looks different where now I'm filling in that missing. So it's looking at differentiation and where I can meet that learner, and so we can start bridging that gap where you say where they come in at different levels. Does that kind of help answer your question?
Yeah,
Yes?
I think so. It's a fascinating challenge, and I just can't state my appreciation for that. The kindergarten teachers enough, because it is so difficult. I could never do it. So.
And that's that piece too, is I think continuing to revisit with like our data meeting or our PLC time, or leaning on some of those like literacy coaches and math coaches, and getting just ideas of where we can support students to kind of help push them to where they need to be. And also reminding ourselves to meet them where they're at.
Well, thank you for embracing that challenge and helping build the foundation, because that's really the start for every single one of our students, and to bring them to a successful graduation. It takes that foundation. So, any other questions on Member Christensen?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I've worked at Scandia. This is my 11th year. I work there part-time, so I can speak a little bit more to Scandia than I do our other schools. But I just want to say that I love the meet and greet so much. I love the pictures. I love the little pencil. They're so excited. And I also want to speak to Principal Carafell and our administrative assistant, Ashley Maloney. They were at the Scandia Farmers Market every Wednesday, I think, 3 to 7. They were there all the time, And that, that's hours outside of the workday. And Ashley is also exceptional at giving tours. I feel like she has so much enthusiasm, and she's so good with our families and on the phone, and the kids, the kids just love her. And so we're super grateful to have her. And our kindergarten teachers, of course, are amazing. And Mrs. Helmgren and Mrs. Adamai is on maternity leave right now, but Mrs. Helmgren, her level of patience is frankly just unbelievable and amazing. And I was trying to think while you were speaking, what was the thing that you learned about patience? What you had the little thing that's patience is
When there's understanding comes patience.
Yes.
When I understand a student is having a hard time leaving home, their behavior in the classroom, I can be much more patient because I have that understanding of where you're coming from.
Yeah.
So with understanding comes the patience. So when you take a moment to find out what perspective or what experience they're bringing to the room, it can build patience to help support them.
I love that so much that if you just think about that for a minute, I mean, it makes so much sense. You can just understand where kids are coming from. And I also want to say that we're so grateful for Principal Carafel's leadership. She leads by example. She's always out and about and in the hallways and everywhere. And she's, the kids love her as well. She's always grateful, saying thank you. What can I do? How can I help? I mean, I would say, really sort of at the staff, it doesn't feel like she's way up here, she's there helping everyone and willing to just do anything. So we're so grateful, that she's here. And
It takes the team.
yeah, it does, but it takes a leader to get a good team in place and to have the team follow along with where you're going. So thank you. Thank you to you both.
And I would echo that.
Thank you,
I
Member
think,
Christensen.
you can speak.
Yeah.
Member Tyson.
Yes, thank you. Well, I just have I just love the play-based and the sensory and that new format. I also was a para long ago at Title I, and we would bring them into the hall and sit at a desk. What shape is that? What number is that? And this just seems like you must get so much more information, like you're talking about, just you can observe, you can plug it away, you can, they're just loving the environment and starting those connections with adults that are meaningful, and they're not having any fears about coming back.
Yeah, and what's great with that too is with the meet and greet, it gives us like a starting point of data, and then moving into fall, winter, spring, then we have a little bit more of our formal data where they do sit down. I'm going to have letters in
But
front
not
of
on their
you,
first
but it's
day.
not on their first day. It's not the first thing they do when they're meeting a potential teacher they're going to be with. And so yes, there are more formal ways we can collect data as the year goes on, but the start, it is a great way just to kind of ease them in.
Yeah, and I love the bus ride. I did have a little boy at Taco Days last year tell me, my whole family rode the bus. And I was like, they did? But they did.
Yeah,
So
they did.
I thought thought that was so cool. And then when new families come in and you talk about IB, how is that received?
I think it's well received. It's usually something very new for our families. So there's a lot of explaining. We go to the program of inquiry, which is in a huge case right in front of our building, and we talk through that IB is really an umbrella. It's a framework that everything fits in. We do have the same curriculum that everybody else does, but it's really about including that inquiry-based learning. It's about tying everything together and creating those cross-curricular connections. So we understand that this isn't just social studies and this is science. We understand that maybe if we're learning about light in science and social studies, we might pull in how different cultures around the world use light in celebration. So things like that. It really creates those bridges for students, and I think parents are really excited about that. And it's just something neat, an extra that their student will get at our school.
Yeah, and I think it's so important to introduce that right away. And I love how you introduced to the whole secondary, our whole district. When my daughters went to Scandia Elementary, I was like, where's the district office? We didn't have those connections. So I love how you're doing that. And I just want to make one more comment. When I visited last year, you guys take PBIS really seriously. Your bucket of yellow slips for rewards was overflowing. So I love that.
We work really hard and we play really hard, so
Yeah,
it's
and
important.
thank you for knocking it out of the park and all your wonderful teachers. We're just so proud of our Scandia Elementary. So thank you for coming tonight. It's a busy week for you.
Member Atkinson.
Okay. One of you mentioned, I think it was Jenny Helmgren? Am I- Okay. Learning about that you encourage your students that learning also, what you're teaching them is lifelong learning skills and bringing that home and outside the classroom, which I love that idea and that whole concept. And talked about your outdoor spaces too. I know Linwood has, what they do with their outdoor spaces. Do any of your teachers, do you incorporate classroom activities outside in your space, outside ever?
Yes.
Okay.
And you could speak to that too, because we have the portable classroom that you can
Oh.
haul out, and it has resources like your little stools or your clipboards. But yes, if there's an opportunity to
Yeah.
bring your learning outside, we do. And whether, I know one of our traditions in kindergarten is we do our first round of our ABCs, and then once we get our first round completed, we take big foam letters and we hide them outside, and we go with our buddy. And so
Oh.
sometimes even we utilize the space to learn out there, whether
Mm-hmm.
we're sorting our living and non-living when our science unit comes up, and we bring our writing out there, and we're writing out there where things are really living
Yes.
and non-living, and we're digging up the worms. Yep, we
Mm-hmm.
labeled that with living. Write it on your Post-it. So whether it's we're going out and doing a letter scavenger hunt for literacy with our buddies, whether we're going out and we're doing a science unit right outside in that space, yeah, if we can get out into the world,
I love it, yeah.
I don't know if there's other pieces.
We do have a full outdoor classroom that's
Oh, yeah.
located on the hill behind our elementary, so there is enough seating, and it's kind of picnic table style.
Okay.
But that was donated a number of years ago, but there's enough seating for a full class. And then we're lucky enough that some of our classrooms have exterior doors. It's usually our upper grades, but when you walk into our back, into the back of the school, there's a hill, so it's kind of like natural stadium seating.
Yeah.
And then we do have a portable outdoor classroom setup that comes with a portable whiteboard, little seats, clipboards, all of the pieces. So our teachers love getting outside,
Yeah.
so whenever they can, whether it's teaching a literacy lesson or doing a science lesson, the students like to be outside.
I love that. I don't remember that from the tour that you gave me 8 months ago, but I'm glad that you have that and it's utilized.
Yeah. And seeing it in
Yes.
action sometimes.
Yeah,
once the
I
wheel gets
love it.
rolling.
Mm-hmm, right, okay, thank you.
I just have, like, I know you said that there's such differences with everybody coming into kindergarten. Some
Yeah.
are staying, we're home with their mom and dad. I mean, things have really, shifted over the years. But I just wonder about parent involvement in kindergarten. I know that was big when my kids attended, but is there a program in place for, do parents come in and do kindergarten helpers? Or I don't really know how that works anymore, if that's even a thing you guys do.
Yes, and so we make it more of an invitation. So
Okay.
a lot of families have a lot of things on their plates.
Yeah, I know.
Oftentimes parents are working full-time and taking off work can be hard. And so I know our PTO does a breakfast, which gets families in the door. But then on that day, we highlight, again, our ABCs. We got to the end. We show our showcase. And so it's a way we can do our little performance where we already have families coming in the door. But if families would like to come in or are available and their time is flexible in that, yeah, we have mystery readers, we have classroom helpers. I have a parent last year that came in and she's like, I just want to work with kiddos. I said, great, you're going to come in, I'm going to give you shaving cream on a tray and you're going to practice writing. And now we're going to give you this tool and you're going to practice writing. So yes, it is an open invitation if it works for families and works for students.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious, because I know it's been, my kids are in their 30s now, so just didn't know if it was something, because I spent a lot of time in kindergarten classrooms, so I just was curious if that was still a big part of the program. So.
Yes, and I would say oftentimes we invite families more of like towards the end of October, beginning of November, just to give kiddos the time to be settled, situated. Is because even though it might be easy for me to say goodbye to mom or grandma, whoever's dropping me off, if I see somebody else's grandma, that might cause me some worry. So
Right.
we try to give kiddos time to be settled, and parents are great with that. And we keep, I use an app where I send them videos of what we did in the day, and parents love that piece, so they can see what we did today in our moments of, our show and tell or our science today. And so sending little snippets also is a way for families that can't get in the door
Right.
to get in the door because they saw the video of them today doing their show and tell or our brain break.
All right, thank you.
All right,
I'd
any
like
other-
to just
Yes.
quickly add, it wasn't long ago at this board that we were talking about boundary changes. And at that time, the board made a commitment to preserving our community-based elementary schools. We talked a lot about Scandia Elementary, and you can see why. Scandia Elementary is an asset to the Scandia Elementary is an asset to the community of Scandia. And Jenny, you and your team are amazing. We have an amazing leader. We have other educators here as well. Ms. Lickschleidel, Ms. Lauer is here. We had Ms. Lang here earlier. It is a gifted group of educators at Scandia. Our kids are very, very fortunate.
It's where I wanted to be. I student taught there, and I wanted to get back there someday. It really, it pulls you in. It's a family.
Member Christensen.
I just wanted to say one more thing, leading off what Dr. Massey said. Our kindergarten is really grown this year, and I think it's because you were saying, because of the boundary changes, giving families 2 years' notice. I think a lot of those families, if you're going into kindergarten and your boundary would change, they decided to come to Scandia. So I think that was really great foresight to make it a 2-year process so that people can make that decision. But there's a lot of new, and also a credit to our principal and to our administrative assistant and everyone. There's a lot of new kids at Scandia. There are a lot of new families at Scandia this year, which is super exciting.
And from out of district.
Yes.
Or
Really?
from charters, yes.
Yeah.
So, which is a blessing, and it's an absolute tribute to the work that this district does, that Scandia Elementary does. So we're proud of that.
Yeah.
Great.
That's terrific.
Amazing.
news. Wow.
Yeah.
All right, any
Yes,
other
thank
questions or
you.
comments?
No, exciting.
All right, seeing none, thank you
Yeah.
so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Great presentation. Lots of positive things happening at Scandia Elementary, which brings us to positive happenings. Does anybody have anything for positive happenings this evening? Member Christensen?
Oh,
Oh.
go ahead.
I have a few things. Last month in August, I think we kind of added positive happenings just at the end, so I forgot to add. But I went to that Little Mermaid, the Maskers Theater Company. One of the students who often attend and speak, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her name, but she's in the middle school. She was in this, but this was really interesting because I've just been to the children's one, the CYA, I forget, I'm sorry. But this Maskers is adults in the community and youth. So I thought that was really cool. And it was a great show, and also talking about like building community. Afterwards, the woman who played Ariel, they had this whole photo thing set up, and all these little girls were like, oh, I'm taking a picture with Ariel. It was adorable how they did that. I also, and Dr. Massey may speak to this a little bit more later, I'll be brief, but on August 21st, I attended the Chamber Luncheon at Split Rocks for new educators, and what a great positive event. The marching band was there as the new teachers were coming in, the marching band was playing, the flags were there, so that was very exciting. And then, of course, on August 26th, the Back to School welcome event. Several of us were there. I'm sure Dr. Massey will talk about that more. But there was a wonderful speaker. And I will also add that Dr. Massey had a wonderful, rousing standing ovation when he came up to speak. So that was really wonderful to hear all the support from our staff and educators giving him just a rousing standing ovation. So that was wonderful. I also, that same night, attended the 6th grade open house. And I know, as someone said before, you know, there was a lot of concern from parents and others about putting the 6th grade in the middle school. And they had their own open house night. I mean, it was just really fantastic. People seemed really excited. And then, of course, 6th grade went to school all by themselves on the first day, which also was really exciting for them. And then the following night, I went to the Scandia open house, which again was very exciting, and our wonderful administrative assistant did the theme this year will be Jawsome, and there was all these sharks and inflatable sharks, and that was really great. And then the following night after that, we won our first football game against Prior Lake, which we've lost to them the last 2 years, so that was super exciting. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Member Christensen. Member Antonsen?
Well, she covered it all. I went to a lot of those things too, but, you know, I'll say that I did on the first day of school, because I am one of those new, you know, parents of a new 6th grader in the middle school, and they did seem to be having a lot of fun walking around. They did split them up many little groups, but then their lunch was with just the 6th grade there that day. They had 3 different groups of lunch come in, and you know, and as I waited for anything to start in the cafeteria, I was counting how many seats, and I thought, oh my goodness, how are they gonna, how many do we have? This is a lot of seats in this room, and I'm curious to find out from my son, because I haven't even had a chance to ask him yet since yesterday, like how it was with all the sixth graders in that lunchroom, but,
Busy.
yeah, I'm sure it was busy enough with just like 1/3 of them. I thought, wow, but it all went really well. And I felt the excitement in the air too, and I think the administrators, they all did a great job, and everybody was around to help. Everybody was paying attention and just jumping in wherever, and so I was impressed with the way they rolled that out first day. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that although there was some concerns going in, that the students loved it. They felt ready, they were prepared.
Yeah.
It's only been a couple of days, so we'll see how things work out.
Right.
But very exciting initial reaction anyway. Member Tyson.
Yes, I'll go next, and Jill gave a very robust report, which I just loved the welcome back speaker, Mickey Smith Jr. He's just everything he says is so relevant, and he's so inspiring, and I really felt like there was a deep connection with his message and our educators and all of us in the room. He was just terrific. I've heard him 2 different times, and there was just, you could just feel this connection between the educators and him and his message. It was just really wonderful. I did notice, this is something Jill did not mention, that there are new bathrooms in the high school cafeteria, which are so long overdue, and I just was so excited. Our theater groups use those. Anybody that comes to our plays or uses our auditorium, we had to use, as well as the students, that old bathroom with the leaky sinks. And so I'm just so proud and amazed, and it's used with LTM-FM funds. And so it's just great to see them. They weren't open though, so I can't wait to go in and see them. I also went to the Lino Lakes open house, which you could feel the energy in the room and all the big smiles. It just felt like the ceiling could come off with everybody in there and all the smiling and the energy. I did see our new principal, but I didn't get to talk to her. She was busy, as the principals are that night. So, but I also went to the 6th grade open house. I saw Member Antonson with her 6th grader, and I saw Member Christensen, and I had more fun just visiting with families, talking to 6th graders. What do you like about your new building? Oh, the gym is big. And one boy responded, the windows were, the windows in the cafeteria. One girl said she thought her bus ride would be long. So they were all very excited and a little nervous. So it was fun. I also talked to the new cook manager. She's been there. This is her 4th year there. And she's been in our district 6 years. She was sitting there welcoming students in as well. And it was just a great night there. One last positive, very, very positive thing I want to mention is that Tuesday night they had a party for Coach Sherry Young. This is her 30th year coaching girls volleyball. I could not go, but they threw her a celebration with cake and everything. And she is iconic in our district, and all the devotion she's given to our girls volleyball. I mean, going back to when my daughter played one of them, I mean, she's just an inspiration as well, because she takes everything to heart. They feel like she's their mom. I mean, she's just a wonderful coach. So congrats to her, 30 years. Wow. That's phenomenal. So that concludes my report.
That was impressive. Thank you. Any?
Well, I can just, I was
Parker.
going to say back for the first, for all the new teachers and things, that was wonderful, the staff back to school, and yeah, the speaker was fantastic, and yeah, I did run into Principal Miller, and I said, well, I'm excited to hear how it's going to be at the middle school. He says he's going to be reporting probably this fall. He had to check his calendar, but I said I'd like to, kind of get an update. He goes, well, he said, well, the open houses are tonight, so he was excited about it, and he was just so full of energy. He was just all excited. So I said we were talking quite a bit about, trying to, figure out how that was all going to go, and I'm sure people were excited. And yeah, I can't believe Sherry's been coaching 30 years. That just blows my mind. I can't believe she doesn't even look that old. So, but yeah, so I guess that's it. Yeah, but great start of the school year. And all I can say is teachers are looking younger and younger. That's all I, walking through the cafeteria, I'm like, oh my goodness. So that was, It's amazing. I mean, I'll see all those bright new teachers coming into the school district. It's pretty exciting times.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add that I did leave with an egg roll.
Oh,
Or
did
had
you?
an egg
Oh.
roll with the family, and it's so fun making it kind of festive at the middle school with the food trucks and all of that, so.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'll second what Member Corcoran over there said about the teachers getting younger and younger, because my
know.
fourth grader went back to Lino this year, and his teacher is brand new. I think he's going to be amazing, and a member, our Principal Schultz said he came with raving reviews, and he was just great to meet, very high energy and very personable, and anyway, yes, they're very young.
Well, they have a lot of bright new ideas,
Yes,
too, new ways
absolutely.
to do
Yes.
things, and I think that gives a lot of positive energy
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
classrooms.
Definitely.
Yep.
Well, for sure. If nobody has anything to add, we can move to reports. Does anybody have anything for workshops and conferences? All right, I suspected not, being this time of year. Brings us to City of Forest Lake, Member Christensen or Member Tyson? Member Christensen?
Yes, at the August 11th meeting, they did talk about 2 new police officers that they've hired, which is really exciting. Not too much else in that meeting, but the August 25th meeting, that's what I wanted to say. The city is also going through a strategic planning process, which I thought was kind of interesting. They're going to be starting that probably this fall, and kind of have something to present or talk about in January, and then it'll be implemented in the spring. And they were talking about different ways to engage the community. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing, since that's what we're talking about doing too. And then an update for the 97 by Quick Trip over there.
Yep.
That project, Highway 97. So according to the latest that I saw online, it's supposed to open Everton to 61, so Quick Trip is at Everton, so it's supposed to open Quick Trip to 61 September 6th, which I think is Saturday, if that holds. But it's going to be single lane in each direction, and the signal doesn't work, so it's a 4-way stop. And then the whole entire stretch, Everton, so then 61 to Everton, Everton to 35, is supposed to open by mid-November. And then I also wanted to mention, if people have noticed the new logo on the water tower, where it says Ranger Territory, that's really exciting. And so that was an external partnership between the city and the school district. So I just wanted to thank whoever was involved with that, because that's really neat if you're sitting at the stadium and or at the school or wherever you're at, and just see that cool new logo on the water tower. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Member Christensen. Member Tyson, anything to add, especially on the 97 project, which you're probably very familiar with?
I'm very familiar, and I know all about that new update. I know the business owners there as well are excited for that news. But I did want to mention, Member Christensen already did, that the collaboration on the water tower, that's wonderful. I wanted to mention one thing, too, that they are doing an online budget survey, the City of Forest Lake, which I think is a great outreach to get feedback. And then also, the Lake Center is having an event October 2nd at the American Legion. It's a taco and community game night, and that's to recognize World Mental Health Day, which is October 10th. And, because we know mental health matters. And so anybody that wants to partake in that event, it's October 2nd by the Lake Center for Families. And I think there's a new director now, right? Superintendent?
Tim Cryer.
Tim Cryer.
Yeah, Tim
He
Cryer.
emailed me. So anyway, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Member Tyson. Did anybody have any questions? All right, I did have one question. Has there been any talk about the levy increase? I saw something in May or June, but I haven't seen anything since then.
I
For the
didn't
city?
see anything.
I haven't
I
either.
did not.
Okay. All right, that kind of dovetails into some of the school finance discussions we have coming up, so it'd be nice to keep an eye on that. But moving on, that brings us to community education. Member Christensen or Member Haglund?
The first meeting is September 15th. They haven't
Okay.
met, and they don't meet over the summer. So the first meeting is September 15th.
That simplifies that report very much so. MSBA, Member Tyson?
Yes, we had a virtual meeting on the 17th, so I think you got my director district report following that. It is National Recognition for School Board Month, so everybody has one of their certificates at their seat.
Oh, that's from MSBA?
Yep.
Not
It's
Steve?
signed by the executive director, and Steve did sign it.
Oh, okay. I
So,
didn't even see that.
anyway, to thank us for all of our work and know that they're supporting us as well. The exciting thing that also came out is it's open for delegate assembly nominations. So I hope some of my members at my board will join me. Last year's delegate assembly, we had a resolution about our transportation deficit that our superintendent wrote and that we spoke on at the assembly. And, you know, it really brings to light when you have all those delegates together from the entire state, what is happening in our district. Because afterwards, people would say, wow, you're still paying out of your general fund to run your buses? And yes, we are. So it kind of gets Metro and outstate and everybody understanding the needs of all of the districts. And you help develop the platform for MSBA's legislative session then. So I can nominate you, you can self-nominate, but, you know, for Forest Lake, those are dollars, actual dollars that go right out the door. We don't get a break on that. We've brought the amount down through advocating for that. I think every year I try to be at the legislative session talking to, and I know the superintendent is always down there, his predecessor testified, superintendent's testified, so we just need to keep talking about this to get this down. And it's a big expense, so we can look in nooks and crannies, but this is over $500,000 that we pay out of our general fund every year to run our buses. So let me know if you want me to nominate you. It looks like a lot, but Friday night you come in the evening, and then Saturday you're done by noon. So it's a quick turnover.
And roughly when does that take place?
It's the very first weekend in December. And
Okay.
so the nominations this fall are going to be on a 2-year term. So 2 years you'll
Okay.
fulfill that. And it's in our bylaws that we have to do nominations. It's kind of why we do them. So and that all wraps up October 10th. So let me know. The last thing I want to mention, because I know this is getting long, but our district is going to be presenting at a breakout session at the leadership conference, which is in about 4 months already. So the Director of Teaching and Learning, J.P. Jacobson, Mr. Caldwell, and our superintendent are going to report on our high school career pathways.
Awesome.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to host that, let me know. It's fun to host it and welcoming people that come to the breakout session. Did you have anything to add?
The only thing I would add is you must know more than I do. We submitted a proposal. Do you know if it was accepted or?
I'm pretty sure it is.
All right.
Yeah.
You
Well, then,
win, you win.
Congratulations to those in attendance. All three of you are here. And
Yeah,
it sounds
we'll
like
be
you were
presenting
in.
on our career cluster and program as well as career launch.
Yeah, that's great. And then, yeah, so let me know if you'd like to be a delegate and be included in the delegate assembly. And then I have a retreat with MSBA at the end of this month for more planning and work there. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Member Tyson. I did hear also at the 9/16 board meeting last night that MSBA is accepting nominations for the All-State School
Yes,
Board
thank
and
you.
Rising Star. Can you
I
speak
do
to
have that.
Can you speak to those?
Yep.
Because I hear there were some changes.
Well, there's not really any changes, but the nominations come in and then our board is broken down into committees that review who's been nominated, and that's how those people get selected. So there's different letters of recommendation that are written. There's all kinds of criteria that go along with those nominations. But they
Okay.
are open for the All-State School Board. And then the Rising Star is typically a newer board member that's
Yeah.
in their first term of 4 years. So
And so we have 5 members here that would be eligible for that one. And
definitely,
we have 2 other members that would also be eligible for the All-State. I'd be very interested in what the process for nomination looks like. Is that,
it's online and it's up,
Okay.
and you can click on and see. I believe Member Corcoran and I went through that process with one of our wonderful former board members, Member Moorhead. And so, yeah, it's something that you should consider. I think it's a good idea.
all right, something worth looking into. Thank you, Member Tyson. Any other questions or comments for MSBA? All right, we will move to the 2025 MCA 3 report. Dr. Massey.
Thank you. We thought that with the results being released by the Minnesota Department of Education for last year's 2025 MCA results, that we would give you kind of an inside look at our results by school. So what you'll see here is kind of a look into each school and how each school is compared. Their results are compared with the state as well as district as a whole. But you're also going to see an additional metric around student growth. Are we moving students forward? So rather than just a snapshot of last year, are our students over a 3-year period of time making progress? Two really important metrics that we pay attention to. So Director Jacobson will walk us through some results. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Massey. Thank you, Chair Rebeline, other members of the board, for letting me join you tonight first and giving me an opportunity to hone some of my presentation skills in advance of our presentation to MSBA in a few months, but also to share a quick update on our MCA results, as Dr. Massey just mentioned. If you just look back the last couple of weeks, most Minnesotans were tied up at the state fair, eating Sweet Martha's cookies, eating falafels, pickle pizza, drinking milk out of a bottomless cup of milk. And during that same time period on Friday of last week, the Minnesota Department of Education released our MCA results for last year. And so what we're going to do is we're going to dive into those results. What I'd like to start by just framing this a little bit and doing a little bit of a reminder. I think something that might be helpful as we look through the upcoming slides. In Minnesota, students take the state MCA test for the first time beginning in 3rd grade in both math and in reading, and they take that annually every year until 8th grade. And then they take that test one more time during their high school year. We currently are in the 3rd iteration of the MCA test, each iteration becoming more rigorous, more challenging, more complex application of concepts and standards into real life than the previous iterations. You're probably also thinking, well, JP, you have not mentioned the MCA science test, and you would be correct. We also do an MCA science test. However, this past spring, they renormed to the 4th version. And so this in May, or in late April, early May, students took the MCA Series 4. And every time we change to a new series, they have to look at the entire data set, and they need to essentially set the cut scores based on their initial data on where a student is proficient and that sort of thing. So we don't yet, they're still working through that work. We do not yet have science MCA scores to share with you. We anticipate getting those maybe by the end of next week.
Oh.
The other difference between the MCA reading and MCA math test and the science is the science test is not proctored every year. Students take it for the first time at the end of 5th grade, and that's a summary or an assessment of that year and their previous 2 years' experiences in science. I would say actually all standards K through 5. Then they take it 3 years later in 8th grade, and that's an assessment of all this math, the science standards that they learned during their middle school 6th, 7th, and 8th grade year. And then 3 years later, typically at the end of 11th grade or whenever students take their biology course at the high schools when they take their MCA science. The MCA test is supposed to be less about an individual measure of a particular student, but more a systems check on how the system is affecting the learners within it. And so what we did is what we're going to see tonight is the North Star report. It's a 3-year glimpse of how our district has done compared to the state in the MCA reading and MCA math test, the Series 3 test, spread out over the previous 3 years, both from a proficiency standpoint and from, as Dr. Massey mentioned a moment ago, a progress or a growth standpoint. What I think you're going to see here, as Chair Rebeline mentioned earlier, there's a lot of shiny spots in our district as it relates to growth or achievement on the MCAs. I will say we also have some growth areas as a district. We have some work in front of us. So we're going to go through elementary first. We'll just go through them in order, in alphabetical order, and then move on to secondary. What I'd also do as you frame this, know that last year was the third year of an adoption of a new elementary literacy program. I think you're going to see some of the results coming through in these slides upcoming. It was also, I think, the results of our district jumping into letters training several years before the state. They started having conversations at the state capitol regarding the value of that going statewide. I'd like to give a lot of credit to our coaches who get into classrooms and work alongside teachers on improving lessons. But by and large, the results that you see here, the shiny spots, is carried on the backs of our teachers, some of whom that you are behind me still, and you heard speak earlier tonight, and the talents that they bring to the classroom. So let's gaze over to Columbus. What you see here on the right is a 3-year average of the proficiency rate for Columbus Elementary in the light blue compared to that same 3-year average from all students statewide and then all students in our district. Columbus fares pretty well here from a proficiency standpoint. In the box on the left is the growth or progress measure that Dr. Massey alluded to a moment ago. And how that is calculated is this. When a student takes the MSAT test, their results can fall into one of 4 different subgroups. There can either be that student exceeded standards, that student met standards, that student partially met standards, or that student did not meet standards at all. And students who fall into a partial or above subgroup 1 year and then remain at that same level or higher the next year receive progress points. And if you jump up levels, you receive more progress points than if you even stayed at the same level. Any student who falls in the do not meet category both years, or a student that was in a progress level 1 year and regressed to a lower progress level the next year, even if that meant they went from exceeds to meets, would receive or would be awarded 0 points in this measure. So what you would like to see is a higher progress measure. That's typically good. And what you see there is the progress average across all students in the state for the past 3 years in both math and in reading. And then you see that same factor for Columbus. And essentially it boils down to students at Columbus grow at a rate greater than that in both reading and math than across the state. Our next building is Forest View. Again, Forest View is a K-3 building. Was up until this fall, but certainly last year it was. You see that we've got some good things happening in math. We also have some good things happening in reading, but this is an area of growth for us as a school district. Certainly, the teachers and the administrator there are working hard at their scores in reading and in math. But this is an opportunity for growth as our district and working with our families and our students. You don't see the progress metric on the left, and I'll just take you back to what we shared or we reviewed a few minutes ago. In Minnesota, students take the MCA test for the first time in 3rd grade, and their growth measure is dependent on how they did the previous year and then that year. Since students in Forest View only have taken in the past the test for 1 year, there isn't a previous year's score to create a growth metric around. The next building we'll take a look at is Forest Lake Elementary. A little bit of an inverse there. Some good results in reading. We are right about the state average in math here at Forest Lake Elementary. What I would say is that building, the staff coming together are really working at how we continue to meet the needs of the students who call that school home, and increasing the amount of progress or growth that they experience as it relates to both of those subject areas, and growing the number of proficient students there as we feed them up through our system. This is what Lionel Lakes looks like, Lionel Lakes Elementary. And again, the light blue section represents our school, in this case, Lionel Lakes Elementary. You see math on the left, reading on the right. As we described a moment ago, our average progress measures over the past 3 years in both math and reading as compared to the state. We can take a glimpse at Linwood. Again, Linwood has got some shiny spots here, some real things to be proud of in both areas, as we do across our district. And again, the math and reading progress scores or progress metrics on the left. Here's the work of the teachers behind me and the full staff over at Scandia Elementary. Some really proud moments are happening at that building. Again, both from a proficiency standpoint and from a progress standpoint. And again, this is not just for last year. This is a band of 3 years that we're looking at.
Director Jacobson, do you mind if I stop you right there? Just back up one
course.
slide. I hate to cut you off here, but one thing that I noticed with both Scandia and Linwood is the progress scores are extremely high, and so is the proficiency. And I would assume, and I'm hoping you can clarify this, that the higher your proficiency, the more difficult it is to increase that progress score. Would that be correct?
That is precisely correct.
Okay, then I
Yeah.
definitely want to call it out on this slide with those educators sitting behind you right now, because this is impressive in more ways than one.
Yep.
The same, I noticed the same trend with other buildings, but I saw it with Linwood and Scandia 2 in a row here, and I wanted to make sure I was understanding the data correctly.
Yes,
So-
yes. So, yeah, the progress score essentially is a representation of, we take a student where they're at and we move them to another place in the direction we want to go. And when you are at the top of that
Once you
matrix,
exceed, you exceed.
you exceed, yeah. And it's hard to continue, just to stay and exceed, that demonstrates rigorous learning.
But it doesn't get you a whole lot of progress points, I would imagine.
Because you don't have the opportunity to move to the next level, it
All right,
does limit your
so
ceiling
sorry
a bit.
for cutting you off, but
No.
I just wanted to make sure I was understanding that as we continue going through these slides.
That's a valuable observation for sure.
Thank you.
And then here's a glimpse at Wyoming. Again, great things happening there. I think, again, across the board in all these slides, I think you see the result of our teachers who have gone through READ Act this year, other types of training in terms of OLA, implementing a new curriculum, some really good work there.
So as we come to the end of our elementary schools, there's some things to be excited about. I think the reflection on growth over time is a really valuable metric for us. Our kids learning and progressing. We best hope they do. At the same time, none of us are satisfied at the level we're at. We could be at 80%, and we'd say we got to get higher. So to see the growth means we're moving in the right direction. Some of us would say not fast enough or not high enough, but we're progressing forward. And if there's urgency on learning today, and there'll be urgency on learning tomorrow, and as we move forward.
Absolutely, well said. We'll look next at our middle school. As you can see, we've got good things happening in the middle school in both areas. We have not implemented anything new at the middle school in reading in some time. The last year or so, we've been really focusing on reading in our English department, on updating standards and aligning resources to standards. This will shift here in the next year or so because this data right here represents 7th and 8th grade only.
Okay.
That will shift as we bring 6th graders into the fold, and we continue to bring several years ago, it was our heavy work with K-6 elementary around literacy. Now our teaching and learning work has shifted to our secondary level, supporting them. The middle school principal there and the staff, as well as Principal Lafine and Principal Caldwell, have really been doing a lot of work around literacy across the content areas. It's interesting to note we have an English course in 6th and 7th grade, 8th grade. We don't have a reading course, but we take a reading test. so that we know that these reading scores need to be carried not just by English, but by a number of subject areas. So they've really been working on that as well. Here's a glimpse of our high school. Again, some progress in reading, some work ahead of us in math. What we find a little bit with our secondary scores is that as students move through our system, we see higher levels of opt-outs in the MCA test. That's a courtesy that's afforded to all families that they can opt out of the MCA test. We see higher levels of that as students move from elementary to secondary. In this measure, in the North Star report, an opt-out represents or is reflected back in the data as a do not meet. So that's part of what we're trying to navigate here. And the carrot at the end of the road for some other tests like the ACT or AP test is just a bigger carrot for our secondary students than it is here with the MCA. So I think we've talked about here in this room with this board that MCAs is something that we should pay attention to, but it shouldn't be the only way that we measure whether we're hitting the mark. And so we'll look at some other data points here in a second. Oh, and I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself here. Here is the 3-year average of MCA proficiency for the community school. The community school is a little tricky because one of the things that comes into play when the MCA is supposed to be the measurement of a system is that there's minimal subgroup numbers. You have to have so many students in a grade level taking that test for them to even report the data back to you, because the data or the test data is not supposed to be about the student, it's supposed to be about the system. So in some years, we don't have enough students at the community school who take either one of these tests for a subgroup to even kick back data to us. I think, for example, in reading last year, we did not have enough students at the community school take the 10th grade reading MCA for us to get data back on that. But again, we want to grow the reading and math skills of every student in our system. 100% proficiency is our goal as a system. So we still have some work, and Kelly Lafine and her team is doing work there related to that. Things are happening related to math and reading at the community school. Really good work. Looks like my slide jumped ahead of me here. One of the other measures that we look at frequently is our average score or different types of metrics related to the ACT. If you recall, the ACT is a college entrance exam that many of our students take at the high school. We've done this for a number of years. I am fairly old, and I took the ACT myself decades ago. And the ACT measures students' preparedness for college or the real world in 4 different basic content areas: English, math, reading, and science. And then they provide that composite score that students put on their college applications. And what you can see over the last 10 years is our ACT scores have relatively stayed stable in Forest Lake. We've seen some peaks, we've seen some small valleys, but the composite average score has stayed about the same. When you move a little bit further outside of Forest Lake or outside of our different communities that we serve, those averages over the past couple of years, they have waned a bit. So really good work happening here. This is something that we monitor and pay attention to as a school district. Is another measure of, and this is a test that when students sit down to take it, they are sharpening their pencil and they're paying really close attention to how
So
they're
the
doing.
blue box would be the state composite average,
Yep.
where the reddish maroon box would be.
Yep, the red
Forest.
is our composite, the dark blue is the state composite, and the national composite is to the far right. You'll notice that we have our composite score for this last spring. That is that, I would imagine, is that pink bar on the far right inside the red box. We don't yet have it for the state and the national.
One question.
Yes.
So it's historical. How far back does it go? I can't read that.
Yes, I'm sorry. It goes back to 2015, 2016. That's the furthest bar on the far left.
Okay. And those are all ours.
So the,
Correct? Intermittently with all of that.
yeah, so these are
Okay.
all ours. This is us in English,
Into
us in math.
Okay.
And again, from 2015 all the way to this most recent, 2024, 25.
Okay, because we had a series of perfect ACTs for a while there.
Yeah.
With graduating classes.
Yes, we've had a few students that have taken and scored, and maybe Mr. Caldwell could speak to this with more specificity than I
Yeah.
could. Incredibly high in both the ACT and the SAT.
Yes,
Yes.
very proud of that, of these scores.
And the other one we look at, we've talked about this as well, is I think one of the great things that this school board has made the decision to do is to offer as many college credit-bearing, career-level courses in our high school, allowing students to earn not only a high school credit, but depending in many courses, particularly in AP courses, if they pass an end-of-course exam, have the potential to walk away with a college credit in their back pocket as well, putting money back into the savings accounts of our families and our students as they prepare for college. So AP courses, we offer a whole host of AP courses as a school district. I think if you compared the registration guide from our high school to neighboring districts, we'd fare well in this regard. And what you see here is the past percentage from this past year of students who finished the course and then took the AP exam. In maroon, this represents the Forest Lake from this last year, past percentage. The bar to the left is that data statewide, and this lightest bar is a global pass percentage on these AP end exams. And again, over a very large number of total exams taken, our students do fairly well on the AP exams. So, and again, these are our most rigorous courses, some of our most rigorous courses at the high school. These are not easy exams to take.
Director Jacobson, how do we fare year over year? Do these pass rates remain relatively stable, or?
I would say if I showed you the same chart from last year or the year before, they are fairly stable. What you might see, depending on the group of kids who take these exams, is more elasticity in how the level of each of our bars.
Yeah.
You might see those go up and down a bit. I think we've looked at some years where, for example, microeconomics is incredibly high. Again, depending on the group of kids taking it. But
Yeah.
by and large, year in, year out, we fare fairly well. Yep, compared to outside of our school district. And then, of course, one metric that we're constantly looking at is graduation rate. And there's been a lot of conversation in the media recently around students feeling engaged and connected at school. And one way that you can measure that is how well are you graduating students in your system. And during the period of time coming out of COVID, we have continued to hold stable or even increase the percentage of students graduating from our two high schools here in the school district. We've seen a 6% increase of students graduating since 2020, which would be counterintuitive, thinking about what we've been through during that time. And during some of these other groups that have traditionally graduated a lower percentage of students than other groups, we have also done very well. 20% of increase for students on an IEP. That's attributed to Kelly Wilson and her team and all the special education teachers and deans in our system, students who qualify for free and reduced lunch, students of color. All of those metrics have gone up in our school district over the past 6 years.
Wonderful.
And, Director
The
Jacobson,
light-
I want to cut in there
Yeah.
one more time here.
Yeah.
Because we talk about misconceptions in the public a lot, and I know Principal Caldwell can maybe speak to this a little bit too. But there's a misconception in the public that the graduation rates continue to increase because of lower standards. And one thing that I just want to put on the table here is in writing the policies for what graduation standards are and how those have evolved just in my couple of years on the board, just the opposite is true. The standards keep increasing. The expectations of our graduates become more and more rigorous year over year. And that's just in the short time I've been on this board. I'm sure as Member Tyson's and Member Corcoran can speak to this even further. But is there anything that you can add to that other than, the small disclaimer of we're not passing kids along just to move them out of the system. They are meeting or exceeding these standards to graduate, and those standards become more and more difficult. Is there anything more to add to that?
You said it really well there. I would say that graduating more kids and students in our system is actually the result of some programs that we've put into place to make sure that we catch students when they begin to show that they're falling behind in their coursework, and we don't just say, well, it's on them and the family. We swoop in and we provide support. We're meeting with the families. We're bringing them in. We've got an achievement specialist and achievement work happening at the high school. The work with Ranger Connect and advisory at the high school. The rigor has not changed. It certainly has not gone down. It is the supports that we put into the system in order to help boost these numbers up.
Yeah, and at least in the graduation classes I've been privy to in my time on the board, there hasn't been a single appeal to the board to grant an exception to a single student for them to graduate.
If I can connect a couple of dots as well to that point. Again, the MCA exam is a point in time, yet the courses kids take is over a series of 4 years. The state gives us rigorous standards. Take chemistry, biology, algebra 2, history, English language arts. Those are rigorous high school standards built upon rigorous middle school standards and elementary standards. Students cannot graduate without passing those courses with rigorous standards. By the way, taught by licensed educators who also meet rigorous licensing standards. So these aren't teachers, if we can accept the fact that teachers aren't just passing kids. Then the only thing we can conclude is our students are meeting high academic standards taught by highly qualified educators who've met rigorous licensing requirements. So all of the services and safety nets we provide for students are vital. But I would argue that perhaps the most impactful component of our system leading to student success is when students find a sense of purpose for getting up and taking chemistry. And God bless our chemistry teachers, but most kids don't get out of bed in the morning for chemistry. They get out of bed in the morning because they want to be a nurse, or they want to be an engineer, or they want to go into the trades. But they can't do that if they don't pass chemistry. Those are our career pathways and our career launch program, all of which helps our students find purpose for getting out of bed and coming to school. What got me out of bed was football and sports. We didn't have these when I was in school. We engage every one of our high school students and through the gateway courses at the middle school in a process of helping them figure out, what is it I want to be? Do I want to go into business and accounting or marketing or nursing or medicine or engineering or the trades? Those are our career pathways. And there's nothing more powerful than a student who finds their purpose. Now we have an engaged kid who has a purpose for coming to school. I think that is a really critical component over these 5 years that has influenced the success around graduation.
Thank you, Dr. Massey.
Yeah, the relevance piece is really a huge part. And students, when we have community members who are current professionals in areas that they have an interest in, come in and sit down and answer all of the questions that our students have around how did you get to that place in life. And they all talk about their education, their stick-to-itiveness, their putting their nose to the grindstone and trying, and I think that all has an impact. It has a collective impact on kids, for sure.
All I had to do was wait one more slide.
Yeah, no, this is great, but questions along the way are always welcome.
Member
Questions
Hagman.
at the end as well.
Thank you, Director Jacobson. Could you go back to, well, you don't have to go back, or maybe you just answer it off the cuff. You made mention that, the detriment there is to the students who don't take the MCA and how that goes in as it does not meet. Is there a way to maybe either give a count of how many students that was, or assign a score of what that would have been had they at least taken it and met or partially met, or take that number of students that did not meet and pull that, whatever you said was a 1.2 or whatever their score is for that out of there, so we could have some sort of an idea of what our students are scoring without having that anomaly in there that's dragging it down.
Yeah, there would be able to do that. We could just probably remove from both the numerator and denominator of the total tests passed and the total tests taken those students who indicated that they didn't, they were not going to take the test. That would be helpful. I still think, though, that might give you an inaccurate measure. And what I think you would say is, a lot of times the students who don't take the MCA are students who are also performing incredibly high in some of our other measures. Right. So it's still, it would maybe create a little bit of a murky picture, but we could do that.
And I'm guessing that there's also students who do take it, but go in there and really just, I've heard stories of they can go in and just sign it or fill out some, so there's that also is skewing the data. I was just trying to think of other ways where we could get a more accurate representation, because I think the students in the district do much better than what the MCAs report, and it'd be nice to have a better metric to go by.
Yep.
Such as your ACT scores, your graduation rates. There's other things out there, but.
And you've spoken to this in the past, Member Hagerlin, is that we shouldn't be looking at just one metric. We need to be looking at a number of metrics here. We cannot ignore that one. We've got to spend some time making sure that students see that there's relevance and importance in that test, because it does do something for us that is unique that other tests don't. But it's part of a wide gaze at our school district and how in all these other places, how are we doing?
Member Castle.
So along with Member Haglin's comments, when I attended the award ceremony, there's an awesome percentage, and I don't remember what the numbers are, but Principal Caldwell could probably name them right off the top of his head. But there's an awesome percentage of students that were attending and receiving awards. These are folks who get A and B honor roll type things, people who take PSEO, people who take the APs, and I was astonished by how many didn't take the MCAs. Perhaps we should add to our legislative platform that they should be able to use those tests in place of the MCAs for those students who didn't take the MCAs, but nonetheless took these much more rigorous tests.
And I would argue that, especially at the secondary level, if the state's going to give us rigorous standards and license highly qualified educators, then passing Algebra 2, which is what the test is testing, or biology, should be the metric.
I certainly think there's an opportunity there. Member Tyson.
Yeah. And just to add on to Member Hageland, and I mean, it is a conversation in many districts, the frustration over the opt-out. I mean, they just are like, people want to tear their hair out. And there are resolutions that were brought last year to the Delegate Assembly regarding, you know, what can we do, what changes could be made through MDE and through the legislative process to figure this out, because, but to the superintendent's point, rigorous standards, teachers that are highly educated and qualified, and they pass the tests, that could be the metric. So you should maybe consider being on Delegate Assembly with me.
Fight for that, Luke. That'd be good.
But anyway, it's really great questions.
Well,
Member Corcoran.
I was gonna say, if you know how hard it is to ever get them to change anything, so you
I
can
know.
keep fighting. Look, our transportation,
Gotta keep
problems,
fighting.
and you gotta keep
Mhm.
fighting, but, I mean, everything that makes sense to everybody involved doesn't mean it's gonna change, unless you keep fighting to try to make them see it in a new light, because it does really affect. If it goes out that people really feel like our scores aren't as high, when it is skewed. I wish they could just be taken out of the equation altogether, if they don't even, not even be counted. So, yeah, disappointing.
Member Atkinson.
So it's my understanding that part of the issue here too is with the students' ambition to do a good job in a lot of cases, like you're saying, if they're just going in to cover the bases. And how long, I mean, it's over several different days, correct? It's not all in one day, these MCAs?
It can be taken in, some students take it in one day.
Oh, and how long does that take if they take them all in one day or take it?
I think the test is supposed to be measured to take about, on average, about 2 hours or
Oh.
around 2 hours.
Okay. And what do we incentivize the students with? Anything like carrots?
Yeah, we've had some really good conversation, Member Antonsen, on that. We've thought about tying it to course grades. We've thought about tying it to other things. There's some discouragement from the state level for schools to do that, if all schools don't do that. Because it's meant to be a comparison of school to
Yeah.
school, district to
Oh,
district.
all right.
And when we start to do some of those things, the comparisons
So-
are harder to argue about, stand behind.
We would be maybe skewing the data,
Yeah,
like
in some
our
ways.
data is getting skewed because they won't allow,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's,
don't know.
okay.
yeah. I don't know that I have a great answer to your question, Member Antonsen.
Yeah,
Well,
Member
pizza
Tyson.
party is always the answer, isn't it?
Yeah, pizza party. Well, one more quick question, and sorry to go back a ways, but I think the elementary games were all super impressive. I'm super proud of our staff and our new reading system, implementation of that. But one of our elementary buildings had a higher math and a lower reading, and that's not very common, is it? I can't remember which one.
That was Forest Lake Elementary,
Yes.
had a higher math actually, Forest View Elementary had a
Yes.
higher math and a lower reading. Yeah, and again, that isn't fairly common. It is worth noting that building, all other buildings had 4 grade levels of students
Okay, so that-
reflected in the data. Other than Forest Lake Elementary had 3. That building had 1 grade
Okay.
level. So again, any sort of data sample, the smaller the sample, you just need to be aware of that.
Okay.
But yeah, it was interesting that the other building, the Forest Lake Elementary, had the inverse. So I
Yes.
wonder if you put those two buildings together, if you would see a balancing of that.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, Member Tyson, I'd like to add to that too, because one of the things that I saw, or correlations that I noticed when we were looking at the data here, is that the state of Minnesota builds our curriculum standards with kind of buckets, K-5, 6-8, 9-12, and that was part of the impetus about moving the sixth graders to the middle school. And when I looked across the system, and I'm going to exclude the high school because we have such a high rate of opt-outs in the high school, but in 6-8 you saw some, well, I guess in 7-8 you saw some performance challenges there too, and then in Forest Lake Elementary and Forest View Elementary. So I kind of wonder if continuity of instruction and having kids in the same building in the same system as they're working through grades might have something to do with this. And of course, correlation is not causation, but it was just something that I noticed stand out there with the data that we were presenting.
I don't think it would take a lot of time on your computer, Member Riverline, to find multiple meta-analysis that would demonstrate that there is, whether it's correlation or causation to what you just described. There's reasons why some schools have even built K-8 elementaries
Right.
in order to try to create that safe learning system, that continuity of familiarity across the entire system. So yes, I think what you're talking about there is Maybe not for all, but for many kids, a real factor.
But continuity is such a critical component, I know, in so many fields, in medical fields and in professional systems. I don't see why it wouldn't be a component in the educational system either. So I think the changes that we made last year and, you know, starting with this year now, we'll start to see some more fruit. At least I hope so.
Yep.
So, any other questions or comments on the MCA report? All right, seeing none, we will free Director Jacobson, and we'll move to the family survey report. Dr. Massey.
We'll continue with the theme of looking at some data. Every year, in fact, for the last 4 years, we have surveyed our families. This comes from the strategic plan. And the interest and the effort is to get a snapshot of feedback from our families over a series of different questions. We intentionally do not have an open response so that we create a really quick survey to drive up the participation rate. We limit the number of questions again so that we don't have 100 questions that parents just don't have the time to take. So as you look at the series of data, and maybe you've looked at it because we post this on our website, you might have questions that you'd like us to drill into. We'd love that feedback. We've asked the same questions for 4 years. That allows us to track responses over a 4-year period of time. We do get parent feedback in a lot of different ways anecdotally. We kind of guard against that with this survey so we don't make it too cumbersome, but that's certainly something we might want to consider. Nonetheless, our communications coordinator, Renee Reedy, and her Skillful Work oversees the survey and pulling all that data together. So thank you.
Hi. It's fun to be in the room. Normally I'm back in the dark tech area. So here I am, my actual face.
Yes. Welcome from Renee.
Yeah, so as Superintendent Massey mentioned, we have done this every year. We send it to all families via email at the end of the year. So the 4 years, it's been either at the end of May or early June. So they're getting it fresh off their whole year of school. So they have all that time to reflect on their answers. It is mobile friendly, so if you are a person who doesn't use a computer often and you check your email on your phone, you can just click the link, go through it on your phone. You don't have to type anything or use your thumbs for any of that. There's 20 questions. Responses are anonymous. And as Superintendent Massey mentioned, we've done this for the last 4 years. We get responses from all grade levels and all schools, including pre-K, including our STEP program, including pre-K at the Ed Center, which is a really small number of folks. And those are our response numbers right there. They've kind of hovered right around the 500 mark all 4 years, which is about probably 10% more or less of our student body. Here are the results. I want to point out that I have these arranged by topic area in this slideshow presentation and on the website, but they are not asked in this order, so they don't go one on top of each other and you start thinking about it as a parent. You kind of hop around in terms of your answers. Parents can answer for each one of their children individually. So if you have a student who is at Lino Lakes Middle School and High School, you can fill out a separate one for each one and answer on behalf of them. Because as anyone who has children knows, they're not all the same, and some of them have very different experiences with school. So here are the academic-related questions. By the way, for those of you, if you want to take another look at this, Superintendent Massey mentioned they are posted on the website. It's in the Our District area, or if you just search family survey results, they pop right up. This is the question, and all of the questions are asked in a similar way. We give a statement, and they can say their varying degrees of agreement or disagreement. So the first question, during the past school year, my child was appropriately challenged academically. The results are very good. Hovering, the agrees and strongly agrees are in the yellow and maroon, hovering over 80%. Looks like we dropped just a little bit in the past year. Next one, at this school, my child is receiving a high-quality education and is prepared for the next level. So that might mean you're a preschooler learning your numbers and you're prepared for kindergarten, or you're a high schooler taking your AP test and you're prepared for college or trade school or whatever's next. During the past school year, teachers were available and provided assistance to my child when needed. We all have struggles in our academics, or we might need extra relearning or whatever, and we want to make sure our teachers are available. And families generally thought they were. Overall, I'm satisfied with my child's educational experience. This is sort of the big overall question, and we got pretty good scores on this. In all of these, there's areas for improvement, and that's one of the reasons we do this, so we can kind of identify, I think Director Jacobson said, a system check. So it's kind of that overall, are we missing any big areas? Is there something big that we're missing? Still in academics, the adults and teachers at this school believe my child can learn and be successful. In my mind, this is one of the most important questions. Do the people there believe that your kid can learn, or are they just saying, "Meh, this one's hopeless"? Doesn't look like we're doing that. We have big numbers here. Lots of people agree and strongly agree on this one. During the past school year, my child was able to manage their classwork without feeling overwhelmed. I think that's a big one too. And we've made great progress in that area over the last 4 years. During the past year, my child looked forward to going to school. Is Mrs. Sondrum still here? I know sometimes in kindergarten that's really tough. During the past school year, my child, we're moving into the category of more thriving and belonging and how your child feels at school. During the past school year, my child had a sense of belonging at their school. Most people are agreeing. During the past school year, the school provided material that reflect my child's cultural background. Everybody has a culture. Are you seeing yourself in the materials that you see at school? During the past year, my family's culture was respected by other students. This is a big one for me too. This is a little bit more of the climate we create because student behavior isn't fully controlled by us. So we have to kind of create the area that fosters respect, and it looks like that's happening. During the past school year, my child seemed to know at least one adult with whom they could share successes and concerns. We all know the power of a caring adult beyond your parents or your family, and this is another big one where our families are strongly agreeing that their student has an adult at school that cares. Then we get back to some communication and connection questions. Staff at this school promptly respond to my phone calls, messages, or emails. We know that things happen from time to time at school, or parents hear about things and they might have a question, and it's really important that parents know that they can ask that question and get a response. I am informed about important district level dates, activities, events, and information. So this is school board meetings, listing sessions if we're considering some type of topic, things that are happening on a district-wide basis. And people are generally saying they feel informed. This is a school level, informed about things at my child's school, same. And we're making strides here. We've had good marks the whole time through, but we're making improvements there. This one is interesting to me because our families are informed, but maybe they feel a little less connected. So I'm connected and involved in the school community. I really enjoyed Principal Carefell's presentation about how connected she's working to get people at Scandia. It's really important to feel ownership in your school system. These are my bonus questions. These will not appear online because they're generally just for our staff. And I know you can't read these charts, but I'll show you what we're asking here is your preferred method of communication. And the blue lines are, you can rank them. The blue lines are number 1. So on the far left there is email. So you can see that our families are overwhelmingly say they still prefer to receive information via email, which is good because that's a way that we can do it that doesn't cost us a lot of money and it's relatively easy. The one in the middle is text messages. So you can see that that's coming up. This is only 25 answers. It's been a little lower in the past. It's creeping up. People are showing that they would like to get some more information via text. We do have that capability, but of course text doesn't have the same long form capabilities that email does. So we may do some more texting from our system. And that is it. So if anyone has any questions.
Thank you. Any
Thank you.
Renee.
questions or comments on this?
It's interesting.
All right. Member Christensen?
I think this is really interesting to do this right after we did the MCA. I think, because I think, you know, if people are feeling like, oh, maybe our MCAs, you know, could be higher or this or that or whatever with the MCAs, I think this information is critical. And we're doing, I mean, I know, well, my other question is that, you know, there was about a 10% response rate, so I don't know how usual that is or how.
I think actually that's pretty good in the world of surveying.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
add, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. But I mean, to have that much percentage say that adults feel that the students have a caring adult that they can trust, I mean, that is huge. I mean, that should be, I don't know, like, on one of those big
Billboards, yeah.
billboards.
It's a billboard.
I mean, think about
Vans,
that, you know, I mean,
Yep.
think about how reassuring that is for our parents, our families, if they know they're sending their kids off and there's trusted adults. I mean, that is as big to me as, you know,
Yeah.
and that's some of these other AP tests and all this other thing. I mean, this says that we're really doing a good job and our parents are feeling good about the work that we're doing.
And it speaks to the quality of our staff from
Yes.
everybody from the bus driver
Yeah.
to the people in the lunchroom to the paras to the teachers, so,
Yeah.
because it doesn't specify what type of adult at
Yeah,
school.
I think that's awesome.
Member Corcoran?
Well, I mean, in kind of historically, people that answer surveys are either really happy or not happy, right? I mean, they're the average person that's kind of like, it's fine, everything's good. I'm busy, I don't feel like I have to answer. So these results are good on those fronts because that means people are happy and they are feeling, especially the communication piece, that's huge with the, I mean, email is kind of, you know, but the texting is, people are always having their phones, they're busy. They're not at their computer, you know, I get that. So that might be something to look at for the future, but this is really eye-opening and really great. So thank you. This is good information.
Member Tyson?
Yeah, so this is excellent information, and we've talked about it in Communications Committee before, how, you know, this is just really good information to know. It measures such an overarching of everything in our district that goes on. I do think it's curious with the, like you talked about, the lower numbers with the connected to my community, and if that's just a reflection of how we're the third largest district in the state geographically, and we are very spread out, and just,
Yeah.
you know, putting your thinking cap on, what can we do
Yep.
in that area?
Yeah, and in order to feel connected and feel involved, you have to have a little bit of input, and that does take time. So if you're a busy parent, sometimes it's harder to
Sure.
have that connection. But it's something that we work for always, and we want our parents to feel involved.
Yes, great report, thank you.
Member Christensen?
Well, just to Member Tyson's point, I was thinking about that same thing, but I think when your kids are in elementary school, I think it's a little bit easier to feel connected. So I was wondering if it sort of depends how old your child is. You know, not that you're not connected in high school, but I mean, that's more difficult. In elementary school, you know, there's carnivals and science, you know, that kind of
Yep.
stuff. So I wonder if that is something.
And we do, I didn't present on it here, and we don't have it on our website, but we can break the results down by school, so we can kind of look at that and see if that's a trend.
That would be interesting.
I would like to, especially like she said, the elementary school piece, where you're very connected at that point. But as the kids grow up, and you're not as connected. So that would be interesting information.
Do they want to be connected?
Probably
at,
not.
at that point, you're
Embarrassed.
trying
They're
to.
embarrassed by their parents.
No, you're
My
trying to
kids were.
transition your kids into adulthood. So maybe you don't need or, you know, even want to be connected. Member Antonsen?
I would say I would be interested in that information as well, because I was wondering the same thing, especially after hearing from Scandia here this evening, and, you know, would be nice to get an idea, and I think it's important because we are so spread out and we have multiple different elementary communities, that we see who, you know, where are we excelling with this community connection and where do we have growth needs. So that'd be great. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Thanks, Renee.
We will move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Massey?
Thank you. I will be probably briefer than I had intended because some of these topics have already been discussed, so I will try to cruise across a couple of these topics. First of all, in front of you is a certificate. September has been identified through the Minnesota School Boards Association as School Board Member Appreciation Month. So that certificate is an acknowledgement of your service to the district, and just know that it is greatly appreciated. I will share that out with staff tomorrow as well, so that they're aware of September being Board Appreciation Month. And again, to just acknowledge the dedication and the time and the energy that goes into the work that you provide at this table. So thank you. It was mentioned many times in Positive Happenings, our back to school weeks with new educators. Thank you to the Forest Lake Chamber of Commerce and their event that they put on for all of our new educators. That is a big cost to them, and they provide a wonderful professional level lunch and welcome with a lot of giveaways and gift certificates to new educators. The back to school week that we just finished last week with all educators started on Monday in buildings, and on Tuesday we had the all staff event. Member Chair Rabeline gave a welcome. I gave a few remarks, and then we introduced Mickey Smith Jr., who was mentioned here tonight as well. He touched on some really dynamic, in addition to being a dynamic presenter, touched on, I think, some powerful topics. One, keep on going during times of adversity and when things get tough. I think that applies to us as adults as well as to our kids, and being able to carry that message along to our kids. And often, perhaps not discussed enough in public education, is the power of love and the relationships and the connections that happen between, in an educational setting, of course, what that means in terms of care for kids. And then also finding your voice and helping students find their voice, finding their purpose, finding their meaning. Nothing gets to the heart more than music. He's a professional level saxophone player, did a Whitney Houston number, and then finished with Purple Rain, and really got people on their feet, and was quite an inspirational event. These people aren't cheap. I'm happy to share that we don't spend general fund dollars on these events, including the luncheon. We had sponsors, including TCT, one of our transportation providers, LifeTouch, National Insurance Services, NIS, Kraus Anderson, Carson Amiad, who does our yearbook at the high school and graduation attire, and some funds from the Positive Community Norms. So no general fund dollars spent on this event, all raised through sponsorship. The first week of school, I suppose I could spend an hour on this. I'll try to be brief. We're able to see the fruits of a lot of work, including the work of this board, with sixth graders starting at the middle school this week after orientation the week before. And then, of course, the merger of Forest Lake Elementary and Forest View. I spent a lot of time in both of those buildings. I've been at busing drop-off at the middle school Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and pickup to watch the process of 200-plus families picking their kids up at the end of the day. I have to tell you that the design of parent pickup and to see the design work and the flow of traffic work. We ended up today with all grade levels at the middle school. We had maybe 15 cars waiting to get into the lane on Goodview when the bell rang. We were really nervous that that would be a congestion point, maybe 15 cars. And by 15 minutes after the end of the school day, every kid was picked up. I will tell you, the calls I got around, I'm waiting in line, and I said to parents, have you ever been to a Viking game? And do you call the owner of the Vikings and complain? We got to manage expectations. And when you get caught in a traffic jam, it's going to take a while. And when you come with 200-plus cars, it's going to take a while. But it moves, and the system's working. It's really encouraging. I give a lot of credit to Director Ren Borghetti, who worked along with Jason Miller in designing the process and the system. It's working. If you want some entertainment, come at 1:45 and see, well, probably 1:30, 45 minutes before the end of the day, there are parents waiting to pick their kids up. It might be far better to come at 2:25 and spend 10 minutes in line versus waiting, but everybody's got their deal. It's working. It's really encouraging to see. And maybe you have seen concerns around our busing and assigning bus routes. Let me just share here for the board and for the public. There's a number of factors that have led to a number of kids and families without bus routes. We had a software merger issue with the opt-in information with the Transversa bus routing system. And we also have a mail delivery issue with postcards that list the bus routes. I think we're looking to move next year away from bus cards and having that be electronic. Seems to be the way of the times, to be doing things electronically, and we think we're close to being able to do that without making a commitment, but we'll be looking to do that. And then we also had families that did not opt in but expected a bus route, and they didn't get one because they didn't opt in. So we spent the week working until 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30 at the bus garage. I'm looking at Director Ren Bergheide because she was there at 5 a.m. and there till 9 p.m. working with the staff there. So we're getting really close to getting everybody where they need to be and on a bus. And we apologize for any inconvenience that has caused families. At Forest View, we have almost 500 kids. The 4th and 5th grade wing is separate, sort of K-3, so they feel like they've got their little special wing. 4th graders never left, right? They were 3rd graders last year. The 5th graders were only gone a year, so they feel like they're home, and it's really off to a really nice start. At the last meeting, this board increased the substitute rate of pay. We have close to 20 additional subs, partly because of the increased rate. Some of that's over the summer, so a lot of good feedback. We have subs from other districts signing up here. Our rate is more competitive. We had the question around, is there a margin to move the classified sub rate? The difference between the new rate of $15 and the beginning rate is about $1.81 or somewhere in that neighborhood. So that's the margin, and we have to be careful not to move the $15 rate too close to the beginning rate. So we've got to pay attention to that margin, acknowledging that that rate is low, but we have to watch that margin. So we think that we have made a big impact, the board has, with that increased rate, with hopefully covering substitute or absent teachers with substitutes rather than teachers giving up prep time to cover classes. There still may be some of that, but hopefully less. Quickly, we are starting the year with really strong enrollment. We started on Tuesday with 5,620, with 5,620 students. That's 165 students over the number that we built this school year's budget on. That number will settle in here as we get into October 1, because we're counting kids today that are enrolled in another district. They just haven't told us that. So once we clean that up, we'll have a much more accurate number by the end of the month or the first part of October. But we are trending better, frankly, than last year. We ended 75 kids over our budgeted number last year. So very encouraging information around enrollment. It was mentioned earlier that the Highway 97 project is more delayed than anticipated, fully open in mid to late November. However, the roundabout to Quick Trip Everton will open Monday morning at 5 a.m. I would ask board members, if you want to spend some time with directors and myself around the strategic plan, I have in my weekend update a sign-up sheet Monday, the 8th, 1:30 or 4 p.m. We can spend an hour, hour and a half on answering any questions that you have to dig into the strategic plan. And another session Monday, September 15th at 1 p.m. If none of those, neither of those times work or none of those times work, please reach out and we'll find another way to spend some time going through the plan. At your table are the SEC activity passes. Of course, your ID badge gets you into home games, home events. Our kids and families love to see you there. There's just great entertainment through our athletic events. We had close to 2,500 people at our first home football game. That number will only increase once now that students are back in school. Just a lot of excitement and energy around student activities, so please plan to join us. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Dr. Massey. To that point, I think we still need our 2526 ID badges on the board.
There we go. So we will get those printed one way or another and get those to you.
Yes, thank you for that. Any
In the
questions?
meantime, use last year's.
Any questions or comments, Member Christensen?
I just had a comment going back to what you were saying about the buses, and I know that there were some issues and some parents were concerned, but I appreciate the follow-up from the bus garage and others digging into what the problem was. And I also just wanted to say, I don't remember if it was Tuesday night or Wednesday night, but I got a call at 8:35 p.m., and I think her name was Becky from the bus garage, and she's like, oh, does your daughter Charlie have a bus, and she was so nice, and I said, have you been there all day and you're calling families at 8:35 p.m.? And she said, yes, she was, and there was a bunch of them personally calling to make sure that kids were on the bus, and she apologized, and she couldn't have been nicer, and I'm sure the others were that way as well. So thank you, Director Remberg, ID, and to the staff at the bus garage. There may have been some snafus, but they worked hard to fix it, and we're spending time after their regular hours calling people personally to make sure that everything was okay. So that was really
Thank you for that recognition. Becky also drove the morning route and the afternoon route, as did Stormy and Jason, and were there long hours. So, thank you for that.
I would piggyback on that too, Member Christensen. I got emails from my son's principal, an assistant principal, and a phone call from the superintendent concerning my son's bus. So it was everybody in the system, all hands on deck, working to get that taken care of. That is very much appreciated. Member Tyson.
Yes, and I concur on all that, the kudos to getting that handled. That was a lot of work. But I have a question about the opt-in. I had a few calls about the parents, two that I knew that forgot to opt in. Is that electronic? I didn't want it. They asked me how they missed it, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure it was an email.
Yeah, we communicated a
Okay.
number of different ways, and it's I believe it's a Google form.
Is it, so it's
Google form
electronic? Does it
confirmed.
go a couple times or once?
At least
I mean, I
two or
just
three,
didn't know
twice.
if-
Yep.
Twice,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah.
So maybe next year 4 times.
Or 5.
I just didn't know how it worked, so.
Yep.
And you
Good
said,
to know.
Yeah, you said the process might change, though, to make it
We'll
simpler?
still need opt-in,
Okay.
because we don't want to route kids that are
Right,
never going to ride
but
the
I mean,
bus.
maybe like a different way if they're not supposedly getting the information. Like, do you mail it to? I mean, that's probably
The
overkill?
postcard
There's
that
a
you
postcard.
received back in the day was a
Yeah.
yellow postcard, the same kind of a concept
Okay.
today.
Okay.
We're looking to get to a day where we can have that be on the bus app, and
Okay,
it can be electronic.
wonderful. Okay, great, thank you.
It sounds like a reasonable discussion item for the Communications Committee.
Right.
But,
Yeah, there we
Member
go.
Castle.
Perhaps it could be put on the website, so if they miss it, they can still go and find it.
Good point. Yep.
There's a lot of ways.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
lots of
and
good
I
ideas
just
there.
want to mention that too, my own experience was, I remember getting one, I think earlier in the summertime, or, something about the opting in, and I wasn't sure that we were going to have my elementary school child go, and then I got more of them later, or I'm such a not good at cleaning out my inbox, I might have found the old one, but I know that they sent them again earlier to the start of the school year, so, yeah. And I do want to give a shout out to Becky at the bus garage. I spoke to her today, and I think our bus people need a little love, but,
Yes.
because there were some,
We
yeah.
we
Mhm.
should probably plan something.
That's what I was thinking too.
should do that, so.
All right, seeing
You have
no
another
other.
question?
Oh, Member Kessler.
Just a little point on the communication. Email systems, when they communicate with each other, they acknowledge. Texts do not. So if we talk about bringing texts into the fold of communications, it is not a guaranteed service.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and we're very judicious and not using text as a primary form of communication, but an added component. We got an email out there, but we also send a text as an alert to really a more urgent kind of a message.
Yeah.
All right, so seeing no other questions or comments, unless there's an objection, we'll recess for 10 minutes.
That sounds good.
All right, seeing none, we will recess for approximately 10 minutes. We'll now call the Forest Lake Area Schools regular school board meeting for Thursday, September 4th, 2025, back to order. Member Clerk, will you please take the roll call of attendance?
Sure. Okay, Member Castle?
Here.
Member Antonsen is here. Member Tyson?
Here.
Member Christensen?
Here.
Member Rebbeline?
Here.
Member Haglund?
Here.
And Member Corcoran?
Here.
Everybody's here.
All right, that will bring us immediately to the consent agenda. Does anybody have any items they'd like to pull from the consent agenda? All right, kind of a weird parlance here, but I'm going to pull 7.5 myself, even though this was my proposed agenda. So I'd entertain a motion to approve 7.1 through 7.4.
So moved.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that carries. 7.5 is a uniform grant guidance update, and I pulled that just because I received a couple of questions about it, quite a few emails, and people just don't know what it is, don't understand what it is, and when you look at the documents, I mean, it's 70-plus pages, so I was just hoping that Dr. Massey could give us a very brief summary of what those 70 pages of documentation are saying, so that the public is aware of what it is that we're approving this evening.
Yeah, these are financial guidelines. I'd ask Director Renberg-Eide, who lives in this document and guides much of her department's work, to give us probably a more specific response to the question.
All right, thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. The document, as you're aware, every year you approve our federal audit for the cycle that we go through, and so all of those documents are what our criteria is to implement our federal dollars in the school district. And so when you look at that, it goes through procurement, it goes through all of the different areas of the requirements for each grant and making sure that we're following them. And so that's what the pages do in each detail. You can see the table of contents in there, so that's a really good way to just kind of get a view of the top. So federal guidance has each district have one of those uniform grant guidance, UGG we call them, so you'll hear that term a lot. And so every district has one and adopts it and then makes revisions. So we adopted ours back in 2017, and so we've moved from there. This year the feds came out to say the threshold limit went up for bids and also capitalization, $3,500 to $10,000. So when they make those changes, we go ahead and implement them in the school district.
Okay, thank you so much. Like I said, I just pulled it this evening because there has been some comments made that, that people are worried that we put things on the consent agenda to just kind of pass them without discussion, and, it has the appearance that we might be hiding something. That is not the case. Generally, it's something procedural like this, where the change is, driven from a federal change, or it's such a minor tweak that there is no concern amongst the board once we understand what it is. So, Member Atkinson.
I would.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
And maybe, is that why it was on the agenda, because of those federal dollar amount changes?
Yeah.
That's
Correct,
why-
yes.
okay.
So we have to go through a single audit
uh-huh.
for our federal programs on an annual basis. And so because of that, we need this in place. And when a modification is made, we have in the past put it on the consent agenda. Again, the original document, when it was adopted, likely went through a much larger process.
Right.
Now this is, of the 75 pages, you can see that it is 4 lines within that
Right.
document. So again, a very minor change to
Yes.
the document.
All
And
right.
again, just a dollar amount.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you again. I would entertain a motion to approve 7.5.
Move
So
to approve. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right, that motion carries. Brings us to 8.1 donations. Member Christensen.
Yes, we have, starting at the top here, we have $23,784.41 from the Forest Lake Area High School Football Boosters Club for 25-26 football coaches, the booster paid coaches. We have $6,544 from the Lino Lakes PTO for some playground upgrades of basketball, backboards, and hoops and nets. We have $5,000 from Jeffrey and Stacy Youngworth to support the August 2025 staff back-to-school lunch and speaker. $1,000 from Kraus Anderson for the same thing. $668.34 from Mark Castle to the Forest Lake Area Schools Teaching and Learning Department for academics. $500 from the Amiette Scholarship, Scholastic Recognition, again to support the August 2025 Staff Back to School Speaker and Lunch, and $100 from Hosanna Lutheran Church, supporting families in need through Rangers Supporting Rangers, for a total of $37,596.75, and I move to approve with gratitude.
Move to approve. Or second, I should say, sorry.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
No,
Member
I was,
Corcoran?
well, I was just, I mean, it's really impressive that a couple had donated $5,000 for our back-to-school speaker and lunch. That was very generous. I mean, I see it from groups and different organizations, but from an individual couple, that is impressive. That's very appreciated.
I agree. And I would add to that, too. Dr. Massey mentioned we don't spend any general fund
No,
money on
no.
that event, but having been there and having been able to experience that talk, that would have been general funds money well spent. It's really uplifting for the staff. So in the future, if we don't have the donations covered, I think it's still meaningful and worthwhile. But if there's no other discussion, I would ask Member Clerk to please take a roll call.
Okay. Member Corcoran.
Aye.
Member Rebbeline.
Aye.
Member Haglund.
Aye.
Member Castle.
Abstain.
Member Christensen.
Aye.
Member Tyson.
Aye.
And Member Antonsen votes aye. The ayes have it.
All right, the motion carries, brings us to 8.2, Forest Lake Area School Staff Retirement Notice. Member Christensen.
Yes, we have two retirements this evening. Kenneth Greninger, custodian at Forest Lake Area Middle School with 25 years of service, and Marlene Skolowski, special ed paraprofessional at Forest View Elementary for 11 years of service. So thank you so much, and good luck in your retirement.
All right, I entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Brings us to 8.3, review school board building liaison assignments. Before moving to a motion here, there is one item that's incorrect on this. It just doesn't look like it carried forward for 25-26. So if the member who is a representative at Forest Lake, Forest View, I guess in this case it would be Forest View Elementary moving forward. I have Gail Tyson and former chair Raphael. Who is the other member that is
Probably was
currently
me,
there?
I'm assuming. Probably was me.
It was you?
I think so. I think we can. Yeah, just a flip, yeah.
Okay, so with that correction, with Julie replacing Rob for obvious reasons, unless there's an objection, I just suggest we approve it as presented.
Move to approve?
Sec-
8.3?
Second.
Okay, if there's no objection, that's approved by unanimous consent, we can move on. But thank you for the motion in the second. Brings us to 8.4 through 8.9. 8.4.8 through 8.9 are the proposed policies 1301 through 1306. I'll actually start this discussion with the motion on the table being to rescind all policies in the current 200 series and replace them with policies 1301, 1302, 1303, 1304, 1305, and 1306 as presented.
I'd like to.
That's the motion.
Oh.
We need a,
Move to, I'll second.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Member Atkinson.
I would like to move to postpone any changes right now.
Postpone until when?
Until the next meeting that we have.
Okay, so we have a motion to postpone until
18th.
September 18.
Yes.
Second.
And we have a second. Member Atkinson, could you speak to the reasons postponing?
Well, yes, I feel, in reviewing these multiple times here in the last week, again, it's my opinion that there are very little to, at best, vague statements around accountability in these policies. And I guess I can give you an example here. You know, like, and as we talked about tonight, in 1301D, I'm not going to read the entire paragraph, but towards the end it says direct responsibility of principals for educational results and effective administration, supervisory, and instructional leadership at the school building level. I just don't understand how we're, educational results, what does that mean? I just feel like things are vague, and tonight was a good example of him, Director,
Jacobson.
thank you. Sorry, JP, is he here? I'm sorry. Of how we are gonna go forward measuring these things, and so I just feel like some of this stuff is too vague. And then there's another one, 1302. There was just multiple of them. I thought maybe it would be better to postpone, and maybe we can discuss outside of the boardroom, making everybody, you know, like, we can discuss these things when we meet this week and next week with Superintendent Massey about the strategic plan. I think some of this stuff fits in there with it when you're talking about educational goals, and I don't know, that's my thoughts.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not being very clear.
If, I'll just interject briefly here before we go into more discussion. If we do approve the motion to postpone, I'll commit myself over the next week here to working with any of the 7 members to get any amendments that they want to see through 1301 through 1306 reflected in the proposed agenda for the 18th. So that way, the red lines are out there, the community can see it, the board can see it, we get some time to review it before we go forth with amendments. I can make that commitment here over the next 6 days. With that on the table, are there any other discussion on the motion to postpone? Member Tyson?
So I was going to move to postpone based on the fact that the policy committee hasn't gone over these or reviewed these. So I'm not comfortable with them at all tonight, and I'd like to wait for the policy committee to review them. That's our procedure in our district.
Okay, that would be a motion to commit versus a motion to postpone.
We can't postpone till next month, after the committee reviews them?
We could, but we'd need a motion to commit to actually send them to the committee. Right now, they are in the
okay.
possession of the board.
Mr. Chair, I'd offer for consideration, doing some of this work offline, amendment offline, could be risky in the sense of doing it outside the public purview, where it goes to committee or back to the board, would be under open meeting. And there could be some value to doing that work in open meeting or in the public setting of the policy committee.
Okay. That's a great addition. Member Christensen?
I would concur with what Dr. Massey said. I mean, when you said you'd make yourself available, I mean, you have to be careful that there's not a quorum, and I know you know that, but I mean, then we're
absolutely.
going around and talking. But I guess my concern is, Member Chair, you kind of had this new system where we were going to introduce them and then we were going to talk, or I forget, certain number.
Yeah, the first would be a first reading, and
Yeah.
then we would do amendments,
Right.
and that would have been 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then that passed without any amendments passing, and now they're here for final approval.
Right, and so I guess I'm just a little bit concerned what happened between 2 weeks ago when we read this, because 2 weeks ago when we read this, the only concern that anyone had was that 1306 about taking out the part that said overthrow of the government. So, I mean, we had a really good discussion. No one seemed to have any concerns. It was a quick discussion, and now I guess I'm just maybe to Member Antonsen, just
I think
in these last 2 weeks, like, where have those additional concerns
Just
came?
reading over them again, because I should have brought it up last week, or the last meeting, but I didn't. So I apologize for that. So I don't want to be wasting people's time. But just looking over them again and again, thinking something's not sitting right with me, and I just don't see much in here around accountability. To me, it seems like a lot of words on paper that don't really mean too much if I don't understand how will we guarantee educational results, and what does that look like, and where is it in a different policy, because sometimes we're cross-referencing policies from one to the next, but
So can I ask, are you saying, as far as accountability, you're saying accountability for the superintendent in these policies? You want to see more, or what do you mean accountability to who?
Well, to whoever they, whether it's administration or superintendent or us as board members, to understand, what we're looking for here and make sure that we're getting what we're supposed to get. As far.
Member Tyson?
So I just feel that, if you could reiterate, Member Chair, why you brought these policies, because the policy committee didn't bring these to the board. So can you
Yeah,
reiterate why you picked all 4 of these to be?
Or, there's actually, I believe, 6 of them here, but.
6 of them.
Yeah, so these are on the MSBA directive on administration, and our current administration policies are very outdated. Some of them aren't even relevant. They talk about junior high principals. We have job descriptions in there. I just saw Dr. Wilson out there. We have her job description as something that the board manages, and that's not our purview. We have essentially delegated it to our superintendent, but by controlling that job description ourselves at the board level, we haven't really delegated it. So it's just, it doesn't seem appropriate that we would have those job descriptions in place. It seems more appropriate that we would have directive policy such as the MSBA recommends. And that's where the 1300 replacing the 200 series comes from. I do understand Member Atkinson's concern, and Dr. Massey made a great point. I would offer up that both Member Atkinson and Member Christensen, who have brought recommended changes to this, are both on the policy committee. And Member Tyson, you alluded to making a motion to commit. So I would offer to amend the motion to postpone to a motion to commit.
I second that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the amendment to, instead of postponing it and trying to handle it ourselves and the board without violating any OML laws, that we instead send it to the policy committee. I see the chair of the policy committee back there a little concerned, but Member Haglund.
I appreciate the motion to postpone. I agree that it probably isn't the best process for us to work with you. I think if we're going to make any amendments that Member Atkinson suggests, I understand that, after reading them again, you probably came up with other ideas or thoughts or whatever, and that's fine. But I think, to Member Christensen's point, that, maybe we just kind of step back and go back to step 2 or meeting 2 and workshop it here, whatever your amendments are, because for me, committing it to policy committee, again, as you pointed out in the past, the policy committee really doesn't have any oversight onto these, because we as a board, our body as a job is to oversee these tasks. It's not really a policy committee function, so I think we just step back and keep it at this table, make our amendments, and pass. And it's not as if the public isn't going to have any insight into that, because if we go to the process that we're discussing, we would essentially go back to meeting 2, have our amendments. We would still be getting feedback from the public before we came back to approve or maybe make more changes. I don't know.
And then final approval, just to continue on that. In your view, if we voted against the amendment to commit, we would bring it back on the 18th to workshop.
That would be my preference,
Okay.
is just to
After the committee meeting?
just basically step back to the last meeting and
Yeah.
go back to just workshopping it.
Yeah.
And that way, where it doesn't necessarily need to go to policy. We don't have to, like you said, risk any OML stuff or having emails. You just keep it at the table. It's open, it's
Yeah.
transparent, and we kind of step back. It's a little bit newer process to have 3 meetings to change a policy. But again, as I understand it, the policy committee really doesn't have that oversight or need to be involved in these policies anyway.
No,
That's just my
final
thoughts and my
vote.
opinions on it.
Member Christensen.
I wonder if we could just have a point of inquiry, since Director Friedman is here, if she could speak to whether these policies belong going back to the policy committee, in your opinion, or are they best handled here at the board table?
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't mean to be frustrating in my response, but the board is the elected body, and the board makes the decision as to what to do with all of these things. And if there is something that, the reason that the policy committee exists, the policy advisory committee exists, is it exists of a number of community people for the purposes of, there are 7 of you and you have 7 diverse experiences, and there are a number of additional people in that policy committee who also have additional world experience. You maintain this, I'm not directing you, the board maintains this committee in order to have a forum to gather a little more systematized, you know that word, okay, systematized input to things that might benefit from additional thoughts.
Yeah.
So to the extent that you as a body find it helpful, then by all means, we will. And to the extent that you as a body don't necessarily find it helpful, perhaps not. It is possible that some make more sense than others, and it's possible that they don't make any sense, and it's possible that they all make sense, and it's your call.
All right, thank you, Director Friedman, for that very candid response. We ask not to hear what we want to hear, but what we need to hear, so I appreciate that. Member Tyson.
Well, so given her response, I just still feel like the Policy Advisory Committee as a collective body does do a deeper dive and gathers more information. What districts, what's their wording? They all collectively process and think. You're on Policy Committee, wouldn't you agree? That's how it's been when I've been on it. So I respect the work of that body. It's community members as well as some administration and staff, and they're all working together to come up collectively with what is the best policy to bring forward to the board. So I have always experienced that process as well as Member Corcoran. So this is a big shift for me, not having that collective body weigh in on what the policy looks like before we come to a decision at the board table. So I'm concerned that we're just trying to do this work, and it worries me that we were going to do work individually or in small groups, that open meeting law. So I'm just comfortable with it being committed and going back to the policy committee and then coming back to us.
All right, any further discussion? All right, seeing none, this is on the motion to amend the motion to postpone to instead read a motion to commit. And Member Clerk, I'm going to ask for a roll call on this one.
Okay. Okay, let's just do this. So we're voting yea as a commit?
Yep, voting yes in this case will amend Member Antonson's original motion to be a motion to commit instead of a motion to postpone.
Okay.
And if that were to be successful, we'll then go back to the amendment. So if it's approved, we need to vote on it twice. If it fails, then we're back to the motion to postpone. Is that clear?
Commit to the policy committee.
Yes, this one will be to amend Member Antonson's original motion to postpone to instead be a motion to commit. And if this motion, or if this vote fails, we will then go back and discuss the motion to postpone. Okay. Clarity on that, what a yes and versus a no is?
Yes.
Okay, Member Antonson, please
Okay.
take the roll call.
Member Christensen?
Yes.
Member Haglund?
No.
Member Corcoran?
Aye.
Member Tyson?
Aye.
Member Rebbeline?
Abstain.
Member Antonsen votes aye. Member Castle?
Aye.
Okay, so we now have a motion to commit instead of a motion to postpone. Is there any discussion on the motion to commit? Any additional? Member
I
Christensen?
guess I just have a question, just time-wise. Does this have to be done in a certain amount of time? Because I know the policy committee has quite a lot of work coming up, so I'm just wondering, it's my understanding that this doesn't, have to be done by such a time. That's my understanding. Is that correct?
I believe that's, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the original motion to commit would be procedurally, once we commit something that becomes one of the top priorities for the committee, so that they would then have it on their docket in 2 weeks. Hopefully that doesn't create any hardships for the policy committee. But we as a body, of course, we have the opportunity to amend the motion to commit and instead give them some liberties as to when they would like to review it. We could give them a directive to say we move to commit, but have it in October or in November, or have it back to us by such and such a date. The way that the current motion on the table reads, it would be presented in the meeting on the 18th. Our expectation as a board would be we would have it back in the meeting in October, our first meeting in October.
Could I offer an amendment to push it back to a later date?
That's certainly in order as long as.
I would like to make an amendment to the motion to push it back to whatever, November, I don't know, whatever you say. What I'm thinking of, well, I'll stop there. And then I can explain.
Okay, we need some more specificity
I
to the motion.
will-
That's too open-ended, I'm sorry.
I will make an amendment to the motion to commit it back to the policy committee. I will make an amendment that the information should be back to us by the second meeting in November.
Okay.
Sounds good. Second that?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to amend the motion to commit, to have the policy committee reconsider these policies and have it back to us by November. Is there any discussion on that? Member Christensen.
I would just like to say the reason I pushed it back is I know we also committed back to the policy committee the dress code policy, which I think is going to be very difficult to do. And so I just want to give policy committee time to work on that. That's going to be a difficult task.
Time consuming,
So
I think.
the November is an arbitrary thing, just giving
I just
plentiful
made up
time?
November. If someone
Okay.
Yeah,
wants
no-
to say December, do something different, I just,
Well, November would give the policy committee 2 opportunities to review it, whether it's at their September meeting or their October meeting.
And the November.
The way Member Christensen worded the amendment, technically they wouldn't have to have it back to us until a second meeting in November, which is really the first meeting in November, since they wouldn't have the opportunity to get it back to us before, so it could be on the proposed agenda. But
if someone would like to make
2
a friendly
opportunities.
amendment to make it a better date, you go for it. I just kind of made that up.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be clear about what's on the table, what the expectation for the policy committee would be should we
Yeah.
pass this.
How about an amendment to just follow the dress code policy with these? I don't know what else is in there, waiting for us, I don't remember.
Either, how much?
So.
Public comment. The
Oh,
green card
oh,
policies. And
okay.
I'm sure Director Friedman has some other things teed up for that.
Yeah, we should just ask.
What, yeah.
Yeah, she may not be prepared to
doesn't have that
address that at
list.
this point, since there's another week and a
mean-
half before that would have to be on the
So
agenda.
can I make an amendment then? I'm just going to say to give them more time, because they have I think they have a lot on their plate going back this fall, to have it back to us by the first week, the first meeting in December, because that would give them a couple,
3.
That would give them 3.
yeah, because they may have 2 different, lots of talk about the first 2 meetings, and then that would give them that meeting, the third meeting, to talk through it.
Wait a minute, but
Second.
don't we need to vote on Member Christensen's amendment first?
Not yet,
was
because this would be an
revising it.
amendment to Member
I was
Christensen's
amending
amendment, which
her
puts us
amendment.
too deep, so.
Gotcha,
Yeah,
okay.
That,
just giving her a
And
little
hers
more
was
time.
seconded.
Yes, we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, okay.
This motion would be the limit, of course.
Yes, so that's
So
what I'm
I
thinking.
seconded.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do have a motion and a second to amend it now to give the policy committee until December
Yes.
to return it to us. Is there any discussion on the amendment to the amendment? Okay, hold on, I'm making some notes here. Amend. My only concern with December is it's pushing these policies out quite a while. And I would prefer to finalize this work sooner rather than later myself. Is there any other discussion on that, the amendment to the amendment? Member Atkinson?
What I do like about these policies is that, in policy implementation 1305, and it says at least annually, when it's referring to written procedures and guidelines and directives that our administration develops in accordance with policies that we set forth, and that they will be presented to the school board for review on an annual basis. One of my questions was here, when does this occur annually? But then I realized we maybe don't have this in our current policies, so we don't necessarily do this, and then, we go through the procedure of reaching out to the administrator and saying, how do we do this process? What does this look like? And part of the impetus of this for me is hearing from parents and personal experience around when we're talking about controversial issues in our schools and schools starting right now, like what are our processes? What does it look like? Because it is not anywhere in our policies how we deal with this.
Yeah.
And I think there's, some experienced teachers are old hats at the way they deal with it, and they've got a procedure down, and maybe newer ones aren't, and we do have a lot of new teachers.
I'm going to stop you there, Member Atkinson. I think that it's an excellent point, but it's not really, it doesn't really pertain to the motion to amend it to December versus November.
Okay, well, I guess to me it does, because I'm referring to being presented with, here's how our procedures work, and the school year started.
I see.
And
Okay.
and so
Thank
that's
you for
what
bringing
yeah,
that full
sorry.
circle.
I
So-
mean, that's yes.
Point
Thank
of,
you.
point of inquiry?
Yes.
So then, being looked at and then approved in December as an annual thing, then that would come up in December again, as opposed to, like, if we were to do it now, then it would come up this month.
Well, our policy for reviewing policy is that every policy is reviewed at least once every 3 years.
Every 3.
So, yeah, that could be the window. Of course, that's a sliding window, the purview of the board. So sometime in the next 36 months, after it would be approved, it could come up for reconsideration. I do think that's an important thing, that the delineation at a school year might be better for some of the performance metrics. But does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, except there are some that are mandated annual.
Correct.
Not these.
Correct,
Right.
yeah, I don't believe that any of them in this stack is
Right.
mandated
No.
annual, though. Member Atkinson.
I can't say I remember exactly, but when I did find the current, administration and superintendent policies that we have right now, I mean, I do believe it's over 10 years since we've looked at them. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe I'm wrong, but,
Yeah.
so I guess
Does that
I.
pertain to the December?
Okay, no.
Okay. I want to, we're in a procedural hole here, and I'd like to try to dig out of that hole a little bit. So if we can keep comments to December, is there any other discussion on moving it to December? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment to the amendment to commit and ask for a return by December, please vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Okay, so now the amendment, or now we are on the amendment to commit, or we are on the motion to commit. I'm sorry. Okay. We are on an amendment to commit and to give the policy committee until December versus until October. No, until,
November.
yes, no, until October. Because remember, Christensen's motion was just amended to read November, or December instead of November.
Correct.
Okay, so that is an amendment to the motion to commit. Is there any discussion on moving it now to December? Again, my only concern would be that it's simply pushing it out there too long, but all those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed?
No.
No. Okay, now we're back to an original, just a motion to commit, which would then have it come back to us in October.
Point of order,
happened?
should we redo that because of the
Yeah, I
multiple
was
people didn't
confused.
vote?
Yeah, sorry, I.
Okay, is that a motion to reconsider? Because you were on the winning side.
Motion to reconsider.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to reconsider. All those in favor? Any discussion
Okay, let's.
on the motion to reconsider?
Can you explain the,
Yeah, can you?
Yes.
I
Where
don't
we are?
know anymore.
So
Okay.
Julie pushed it out after she
Yeah.
made it for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
17th. You amended it to the
December.
board.
December, yep.
So-
What we have is we have a motion to commit. And we now have, we had on the table an amendment to commit it, but not to ask for it back until December versus October. And that is the motion to reconsider that we have on the table right now, to go back and redo that vote to, on that amendment. So if we vote in the affirmative on that amendment, then the motion to amend the motion to commit until December will come back to the board and be back on the table.
no.
So just-
Okay, so the motion to amend it to December passed.
That was an amendment to Member Christensen's amendment for November.
Okay,
So now we need to go back to that original motion.
to the November amendment.
Correct, which has now been
Okay.
amended to read December.
Okay,
That's why this is getting so confusing.
Yes.
And to vote in the affirmative is to vote against the November date and keep the approved
December
December
date.
1 date.
At this point, though, what we are asking the board is, do we want to reconsider that vote where we just voted against the December amendment? And re-vote on the December amendment?
So a vote yes means it would be December or not?
It means that we would then ask the board, should we do
December.
December instead of October?
Okay, so a vote yes is to.
A vote yes is to re-ask that question
Okay.
on
right.
December
Get it in.
versus October.
Yeah.
And there was confusion there, so I would
Okay.
please just ask everybody to
Yeah.
vote yes in this case. I'll explain where we are
Yes,
once we
yes.
get back to that, and we can go from there. So that would be my recommendation, so.
I'll second her motion.
And that we have a motion and a second, we had some discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we've dug back out of that now, thank you. Okay, so now what we have is we have a motion to commit, and the motion to commit is until October. Member Christensen made a motion to amend that was then amended to read December instead of October. So that is the question before the board right now, is should we amend the motion to commit to give the policy committee until December to return that to us? Is that clear? Member Christensen?
Excuse me, are we discussing it? No.
I just want to make sure that the motion's clear, and if it's clear, then I will move to discussion.
Okay.
so this is not the motion to commit.
This is
the-
not the motion to commit,
Okay.
this is an amendment to the motion to commit.
Okay.
We haven't gotten back to the motion to commit
Okay.
yet.
So this vote will turn down the October date and let stand in the December date.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, yes, so this vote would change the motion to commit to read December instead of October, which we then have to vote on, finally.
The
Maybe.
yes vote then moves away from the October, let stand the December date.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay.
That is
I
correct.
guess-
Okay, so that's on the, again, a motion to amend, so then we'll have to come back to the final motion eventually. Is there any discussion on the motion to amend? All right. Member
Okay.
Atkinson?
Well, like I've said, was, I think these policies, there's things that pertain, that are incorporated in here that pertain to and align with the beginning of a school year. So to me, I'd rather not wait until December to,
I concur with that
Yeah.
statement.
with,
Member
I don't
Corcoran.
totally disagree, but I just know how busy they're
I
gonna
know.
be with the policies that they have already. I mean, they only have an hour, right? Isn't it just an hour? And they
It's
have
really only probably 50.
50, whatever it
55
is,
minutes.
50 minutes, and they have the dress code one, and then they also have the green card. So those are
Correct.
like
Those are big.
lengthy, big conversations, and to think they're gonna get them both done in an hour, to me, doesn't even seem feasible, so.
And we do have the option too.
So I just wanna, don't overwhelm
We-
them.
We have a couple more options here. We could vote down the motion to commit, and we'll do a workshop, and workshop these ourselves on the 18th. And that would bring us back to a motion to postpone. So we could keep them at this table as well. We don't have to send them back to committee. Member Tyson?
Well, I just want to add to Member Anderson's point that, yeah, they're kind of correlated with the beginning of the school year, but we've never had an issue. So what is the pressing point to circumvent the policy committee and not be more relaxed with the timeframes? I mean,
Yeah, I know.
I'm not trying to circumvent anybody. What I am looking at, and the people I've been talking to who have questions around, especially when I just brought this up a few minutes ago, controversial issues, let's say, subjects that come up that parents don't want taught, and like the format, the process they go through, what are our processes? And like I said, in this one, I know I can't remember the number, but it says that annually, these written procedures, guidelines, and directives that administration follow within their school would be presented to the school board for review. And I was wondering, when does this happen? And it doesn't necessarily happen right now with the policies that we have.
so you were
So-
wondering, or people that have talked to you? Because nobody's ever
Both.
talked to me about these policies before, or the old ones.
The old policies, just for clarification, never
They don't,
They never
They don't-
specified this.
Right, I get that, but I don't get why there's a rush timeline, and I guess I'm not hearing what you're hearing, and so I'm just trying to understand.
I'm trying to
Okay,
help you understand my point. So this
gonna-
beginning of the school year, and this is when parents would take care of these, opting their kids out of things they don't want to do or the kids don't want to do. It would be nice to have clear policies or just procedures and understand what they are.
So are you referring to all 6 of these, or a certain one?
Well, all of them, they're all together. I mean,
Okay,
so,
all 6 of
but
them.
that specific policy, what I'm talking about, the subject matter is 1305, paragraph A.
Okay.
For the specific subject I'm talking about right this moment.
Okay.
If that point of inquiry has been clarified, I want to pull us back to this
I know.
December
I
date,
just-
because
Yes.
I really want to get back down to the main motion here.
Yes.
If at all possible. Member Christensen, I saw you had your hand raised. Did you have something to add to the discussion
I
of
don't
December
know.
versus October?
No, but once we vote on that, I do.
Okay, if there's no other discussion on moving it to December, and now a vote in the affirmative would be to amend the motion to commit, so the policy committee gives these back to us in December. A no vote would be to leave it, so the policy committee would then give us these back to us in October. If that is clear, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
No.
I'm going to call division myself and ask Member Clerk to take a roll call.
All right, so
I'm really confused.
are we all clear still on what means what?
Clarify again.
Yes,
Yeah.
a yes vote or a vote in the affirmative would be to give the policy committee until December. A no vote would be to leave it, so the policy committee would return these in October.
I think October's fine.
All right.
Okay, so
Member
I'm
Clark.
going to start here at the top. Member Rebbeline,
Can I get anything anyway?
No.
Member Tyson,
No.
Member Christensen,
Aye.
Member Corcoran.
Aye.
Member Haglund,
No.
Member Antonsen votes no, and Member Castle.
Aye.
So, 1, 2, 3,
4,
the
3.
noes have it, nays have it.
Okay, so now we're back to an original motion to commit, which would send us back to policy committee. Policy committee would review it in September with their bundle. We would have it back to us in October. Member Haglund.
I'm going to vote against the motion to commit and go back to my original comment that I said, again, I don't think that the policy committee needs to review this. This is school board work. I think we should workshop it back to step 2. It's just how I'm going to vote.
Okay, Member Christensen?
I had a comment to Member Antonsen. I guess I'm just wondering, when you're saying procedures, just maybe clarify that a little bit more, because I'm wondering in my head, like, this is policy is maybe sort of more broad. So if we're thinking, what you're thinking about is maybe like a procedure, like what to do when someone wants to opt out of a survey. Yeah, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but like if you could explain that a little bit more. I'm wondering if that is more of like a procedural thing that perhaps like a principal would be in charge of this procedure versus these policies to me seem like a little more bigger and broad, like this is in general sort of what people do. So maybe you could speak to that a little bit more, because I think if the answer is more maybe procedural, then to Member Hagelin's point, the policy committee doesn't have to get involved, and you know, Principal Caldwell or other principals could, or you know,
Yeah.
go ahead. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth.
I know, right. Thank you. Yes, I mean, what I am talking about in 1305,
1305.
that policy states it's policy implementation. So how do we implement policy? And paragraph A at the last sentence says, at least annually, these written procedures, guidelines, and directives shall be presented to the school board for review. That is not part of any policy that we have anywhere. I like that about this policy, and people are asking questions right now because it's the beginning of the school year, and so in part for my desire to get this back before December is like, can we just get these policies in place and get clear on what the procedures are at, you know, from one elementary to the next. We have 6 elementary schools, and that, you know, in that particular one, for this 1305, that's part of the reason I would like it back sooner. So we have this in policy and
Okay.
maybe can get clear on what our processes are from school to school and get them similar across the board.
So are you comfortable with the October date?
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
So- Okay.
Member
we-
Corcoran.
Okay, so our role is to set policy, I get that, but we are not in charge of curriculum. We're not teaching and learning. We are policymakers. So I guess we can, we can set a generalized policy, but they get syllabuses in school. They get like what's going to be taught. I mean, I don't feel like I have the know-how and to direct the curriculum. I mean, I don't quite get that piece within the discussion.
To that point,
know what I
though,
mean?
it is our, curriculum is our legal responsibility.
It is, but I'm just saying, I'm not one, I don't know, I mean, that's not our role. I mean, we're setting precedents, I know, but
Yep.
our curriculum is taught, I mean, that's teaching and learning. That is
Where did-
I'm not-
their job. not
I
I
ours.
don't
don't-
know where I'm,
I don't see
That's not your
curriculum in
area of
that.
expertise?
No.
I don't see curriculum in that policy.
No, but we're saying that she doesn't, like, people don't know what's going to be taught in the classrooms.
No,
Well,
I'm
clearly
not-
they get
I'm not saying they-
policies and they get syllabuses, and so that, to me, it's like, the parents should know when they get a look at the syllabus.
that's what I'm saying, and that's part of the problem from my own experience and from other parents' experiences. It doesn't always happen that way, where you get the notification that we're going to be doing, you know, health class in the 5th grade, where people are getting informed that maybe they don't want their young elementary school student to be part of that conversation. So I'm just saying it would be nice if we had consistent procedures across the school, and that is within these policies, that it would be presented that way. I'm not talking about changing anybody's curriculum or telling them what to teach. This is morally about,
Okay, I think I'm going
Yeah.
to stop the discussion there.
Okay, well.
And we're going to direct any additional points of increase to come through the chair, because it's getting
late.
a little heated, a little directed.
No, I'm just
And I don't think
not
that's the intention here.
No.
We do have a motion to commit on the table. I'm going to speak to my thoughts on the motion to commit before we vote, and then if anybody else has anything to add, I'll go ahead and allow that. My concern is that it seems like we have some discussion before we are ready to send these to the policy committee. I've heard some legitimate discussions or concerns around certain language in some of the ethics policies. Now I'm hearing some concerns around some accountability ties to it. And my fear is we send these back to policy committee. Again, these are very administrative. Most of these policies deal with how the board interacts with the superintendent and interacts with administration. My feeling is that if we send this back to the policy committee is going to look at it and say, I'm not putting my fingers in that work. That's above my pay grade. I'm just basing this on a couple of years of a policy committee that I've been on. They get very hands-off with these policies, and since we don't really have any directive to the policy committee, at least at this point in time, saying this is what we want you to add, this is what we want you to remove, this is what our concerns are, it's just going to be a very blanketed statement, and I fear the policy committee will look at it, they'll review it, and they'll go, I don't want anything to do with that, and they're going to back off, and none of our concerns will be addressed. So my personal preference is to vote against the motion to commit, instead go back to the original motion that we had to postpone it to the 18th, and then workshop it on the 18th, see where we go. We can always commit it on the 18th if we see that's necessary. That'll bring it back to us in November. So that's my personal thought on this. If there's other discussion on the motion to commit. Member Christensen.
I don't know if I could ask a point of inquiry to Dr. Massey. I hear what you're saying, Member Anderson, and that people would have concerns about these procedures, but when I hear you saying, like fifth grade health or something like that, I'm feeling that's not in our overarching policy. I'm feeling like, to me, that is something that, as a superintendent, in your admin council meetings, that comes down to, that's, to me, that's like a principal level. I'm not saying that's not a concern, but to me, that's a principal level. So I don't know if you could speak at all to, and I know you don't direct us or whatever, but I mean, in your opinion, does this
If I may interject, that point of inquiry has nothing to do with the motion to commit. That seems more appropriate for workshopping it, should we have language that's directive in that.
Well, I guess
in that purview. I don't want to cut Dr. Massey off if he has something to add, but.
Well, I would just add that we do have a controversial topics policy.
Yeah.
That also has an opt-out component. We do have topics that we know are of concern to parents, that we do have communication around on a regular basis. So we have those operational and administrative procedures in place. To Member Atkinson's point, is there some inconsistency in schools on that from time to time? Yes. I think we pay close attention to that and have tightened that up over the years. So we have policies in place and we have procedures that address what we have come to understand to be topics of great interest from families around sex education, safe space, those kind of things that we do communicate.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Massey. Member Tyson.
And both Member Anderson and Member Christensen are on policy committee, correct?
Right.
Yes.
So you would be in there working on it, correct?
Right.
Sharing your input with that collective body, and correct?
Yep, that is
So
correct.
that would be
Yep,
good.
Yep.
I mean, that, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay, so the motion on the table right now is to amend the approval to instead just commit this to the policy committee. Is there any additional discussion on the motion to commit? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
The ayes have it, and this has been committed to policy committee.
Division.
All right, we have division. Member Atkinson, please take a roll call.
Okay.
Okay, hold on, before we take a roll call. This is on the motion to commit. So we had a division called on the motion to commit. A vote in the affirmative would send this back to policy committee. It would be due back to the board in October. A no vote would bring the approval back to the table for the board.
And point of information,
Yes.
saying that it's going to send it back to policy committee is a little bit misleading. 'Cause it's
Send it
never,
to policy
thank you, it's
committee. Yes,
never
thank
been
you.
in policy.
Yeah.
So just clarification.
Yep, thank you. Potential force of habit there
Yeah.
on how we've handled this. So yes, Member Hageland is correct. division has been called on this one. We are going to re-vote on the motion to commit. A vote in the affirmative would be to send this to policy committee for the first time. A vote in the negative would be to keep it here at the board for approval. Member Clerk, please take roll
Okay.
call.
All right, Member Haglund,
No.
Member Tyson,
Aye.
Member Corcoran,
Aye.
Member Castle,
Aye.
Member Antonsen votes aye, Member Christensen,
Aye.
and Member Rebeline.
No.
The ayes have it.
Yep, the ayes have it. This has been committed to policy committee. We should have some updates on it in October. I see no new business. Reviewing upcoming calendar dates, we do have another board meeting on September 18th, in addition to our committee meetings getting restarted on September 18th. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All right, motion is second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, we stand adjourned.